be up 8 o'clock.
Yeah, right.
You're out of your mind. Good evening, everyone. This is the April 6th meeting of the Select Board. With me, I have Ellen Rosenfeld, our clerk, Craig Schultz, our vice chair. I am Erin Underhill, the chair. And we have Mike Kaczynski, our town administrator, and Karen Bray DeMarzo, our assistant town administrator. We have a pretty busy agenda for this evening, so we will jump right in. Thank you for joining us this evening. We started a little bit early to accommodate everything. We usually start at 7, but we are graced with everyone's presence here at 6:30, which is fabulous. So thank you for coming. So the first thing we will start with is just some announcements for some upcoming events. The first event is Millis Beautification Day, which is this coming Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. It is rain or shine. It is sponsored by the Millis Lions. It's okay. It is sponsored by the Millis Lions, who will be set up right outside on the lawn of Town Hall. So come with your work gloves, a rake, and the willingness to help out, and you will be given an assignment. Waivers. Don't let me
Yes.
forget.
Yes,
Okay.
I have them in the other room.
All right. So that is Millis Beautification Day this Saturday. Also coming up, we've got some exciting town stuff coming up. Town meeting, our annual town meeting is on May 4th, Monday, May 4th, at 7:30 p.m. at the Millis Middle High School. So everybody's encouraged to attend that. That is our big spring town meeting where we vote on our annual budget. So that's a pretty big deal, and attendance is definitely encouraged. So please join us. Also coming up are town elections on Monday, May 11th, so the following Monday, and that will be here at Town Hall. I believe polls are 7 to 8,
Yes.
7 a.m. till 8 p.m. Any other announcements? Okay. All right, so we're a minute early. Is that a problem?
No.
That's okay.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our scheduled appointments. First, we have our principal assessor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In your packet is a memo from the Finance Director. As the board is aware, our longtime principal assessor, Terry Gonzalez, is retiring. We're very happy for her in her retirement, and she's been quite an asset for the town, and we appreciate that. But I'll just read briefly the memo from the Finance Director. I am pleased to submit this memo recommending the appointment of Tom Welch as Principal Assessor for the Town of Millis. We were fortunate to receive a highly qualified and competitive pool of candidates for this position, and after a thorough and thoughtful review process, including interviews and evaluation of professional experience, Tom emerged as the top choice and the best fit for Millis. Tom is a certified Massachusetts municipal assessor and brings an impressive depth of experience in municipal assessing. He's served in multiple communities where he demonstrated strong technical expertise, sound judgment, and a commitment to fair and equitable property valuation. His familiarity with Massachusetts assessing practices, regulatory requirements, and evolving industry standards positions him well to succeed in this role. In addition to his technical qualifications, Tom conveyed a genuine passion for the field of assessing. He spoke thoughtfully about the importance of transparency, accuracy, and public trust in municipal finance functions. His approach reflects a strong customer service mindset and an ability to communicate complex information clearly and effectively to residents, boards, and colleagues. We believe he will be a valuable asset not only to that department, but to the town's broader financial operations. And we look forward to welcoming Tom to the finance team and are excited about the expertise and professionalism he will bring to the organization. So with that, Madam Chair, and I did have the chance to meet with Tom in one of the interviews, I'm recommending that the board ratify my appointment of Tom Welch as the principal assessor, pending a successful query and physical. And the finance director is here this evening if you have any questions for her. And the candidate himself is here on Zoom if you have any questions for him or would like to hear from him.
Wonderful. Do you guys have any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, I'll make the motion. I move the board ratify the town administrator's appointment of Thomas Welch as principal assessor pending a successful query and physical.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Great, thank you.
Tom, welcome. We're very excited to have you on board. Is there anything you'd want to say?
No, just that I'm really looking forward to working with the team. I was very impressed with everybody when I came to town hall, and I'm excited to get started and learn more about Millis and all the new things you have on the horizon.
Wonderful.
Great.
Thank you.
You have big shoes to fill. Really.
I know Terry was there quite a while.
Yes.
She was,
Yeah.
yeah.
And fabulous to work with.
Well, welcome. We're very excited to have you.
Yep, looking forward to having you, Tom.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Next up, we have 2 Recreation Committee members.
Yeah, we've had 2 applicants for the rec committee, Jesse Curran and Autumn Richards. There may have been more, but 2 are being recommended for appointment. I move that the board appoint Jesse Curran and Autumn Richard as recreation committee members through June 30th, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, we also have a trifecta of appointments. For, I move that the board appoint Dave Vermacci, spelled phonetically on my sheet, because when you look at it, it's impossible to pronounce
You're
it,
welcome.
as a voting member of the Enterprise Advisory Committee, as fence viewer, and as a member of the Local Emergency Planning Committee through June 30th, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
I think the fence viewer piece is the big, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
Right there.
yeah. But you're a big guy, you can handle those disputes.
Yeah, fence viewer.
All right.
Okay, wonderful. All right. Just looking here real quick, since we have times on all these things.
I think it's okay with
Yeah,
times as long as
it's
it's
fine.
not a hearing.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, then we're going to move right along
I could have
to.
stalled.
That's okay. We're only a minute early.
Yeah.
We're going to move right along to our Capital Planning Committee project recommendations with Mr. Barry.
Good evening, everyone. Happy
Good
to go
evening.
early. It means I can leave a little bit early. So I think you all know the drill here. I come here twice a year to report back on the deliberations of the Capital Planning Committee. So for this cycle, we had 12 items that were presented to us. I'll go through in a little bit of detail as we go. We identified 3 of these items as the highest priority capital items that were requested. They totaled roughly $1.4 million. And then 9 items were medium priorities at just over $600,000, so just under $2 million total. The largest of those is a water meter replacement program for the DPW. That is almost $1.3 million. So that's the bulk of the dollars here. So the 3 highest priorities, 2 are really mandated items for the fire department that they really have to have for regulatory purposes. Some SCBA equipment, that's breathing equipment for the firemen, and then also some EMS infusion pumps, which are required by the state. So those were a little bit of no-brainers for us, that those were the highest priorities. And then the water meter replacement, we had a good presentation from the new DPW director, and apologies, I won't try to pronounce phonetically, to get a sense of, currently, quite a few of the meters are not operable, so it can be hard to actually even tell what the water readings are, and so we make estimates, and we felt as a committee it was very important we got that done in the near term. Medium priorities, there's several. So in no particular order, there's a new trailer requested for the transfer station. This would replace the old shed there, for those of you that know the transfer station. There's some renovations that the chief has requested for the fire station that will help with some increased staff and ability to staff additional hours at the fire station. Keyless entry system at the library. This would put it on the same type of system as the other buildings around town. so it'd be consistent security and access for that building. A new command vehicle for the police department. This is pending the approval of another officer on the police department. That person would have a command car. So that one is, I think, is contingent on the budget going through. A couple school technology items. So a server, a computer server, and also a wireless system for the Clyde Brown School. The current server is basically at end of life and is creating some issues, or potentially create some issues if it were to fail. Some high school lab computers for the high school, obviously. That's a number of Chromebooks that would be replacing old ones that are at their end of life. And then a couple related to this building. So repaving the parking lot, that's about $250,000 estimate. And then also replacing the flooring, mainly, well, in various parts of the building, but mainly where the senior center is down in the basement. So we had a lot of good deliberation. We go through a process, which I think everybody's familiar with, where we rank these items on a number of different criteria. And again, try to assess which are the highest priorities and medium. We did have a good debate on this. We decided none of these were low priorities. So we do have a third category of lower priorities. None of these met that bar that we felt it warranted being lower. So these are, you know, in the same ballpark as far as the way our deliberations came out. A couple other things I'll note in the report. We do have an estimate of our next 10 years of capital requests for the town. It's about $32.4 million. About $13 million that is replacement of existing capital. These are mostly vehicles for the most part. There are a few other things in there too. Enterprise system capital needs, these are various enterprise projects, that's about $12 million. And then other needs at about $7 million. The bulk of that is for fields, athletic fields, which we've been holding a placeholder for quite some time on that. So a couple things I'd say just on the longer term view. One is that our finance director is currently going through a very comprehensive conversion of our old spreadsheets and whatnot into the ClearGov system. So we wouldn't be surprised if as we do that process, we'll be seeing some updates. Either we find some new items we didn't know about, or we might drop some items off that we have already been taken care of. And probably more likely we'll be updating some of the dollar amounts as we go into that system. So don't be surprised if the number changes a little bit next time around. But Jody can speak to that if needed. That process is moving along, and we're getting there and getting all that into ClearGov. Second thing I'd mention, I noted on the fields is one of the bigger sort of discretionary items on our list. So the committee, would like to hear from the select board, not necessarily tonight, but over time, and Mr. Schultz, as part of our committee, can bring that back to us. Sort of what the town's overall plan is with regards to any larger capital items, specifically fields, and also senior center, which I know came up a few years ago. It was decided, not to move forward with some of those proposals, but that potentially could be a large capital item at some point in the future. So we'd love to hear from the select board, over the coming months, some of your thoughts on some of those potential larger items coming down the road. And then the final thing I'd note here, we also had a good deliberation about some of the various buildings, sort of stemming out of the fire department renovations. We were thinking about other renovations that might be needed over the coming years. And I know we have done some ad hoc building assessments for this building, also for the library. But we'll probably come back to the select board in the fall with a request for a more formal review of all the buildings. And obviously there'd be some cost associated with that, so we've got to do some research to figure out what that might look like. But we do think it's time to do a pretty comprehensive review of all the buildings, so we have a sense of any other large capital needs that might be coming down the line with regards to, mechanicals or roofs or windows or, you name it. So with that,
Do we currently have any of that plotted out?
a little
like
bit.
the roofs
We have
and
it-
stuff?
It's a little bit piecemeal. So
Yep.
a study was done on this building a few years ago. So we do have some items related to this building that we're aware of. That probably needs another look, though. Library did a study 2-3 years ago. So we have some sense of what they might need. But like the fire department, for example, which was renovated, what's it now, 8 or 9 years ago. as I noted, the chief has noted a few, these are fairly small items that he's looking for now, but, there could be a need for bigger items at some point in the future, so we want to get ahead of that. And the police station, again, newer building has not been looked at for longer-term needs. But we say newer building, but it's, what is it, 10 years old now or something, right?
on the time when you need to start
Yeah.
finding out what's going to happen.
Yeah. But happy to answer any questions on any of this. Or Craig, if you'd like to add anything from your perspective.
Yeah, it was a very good committee to serve on. It's working, I guess it is. It was a good committee to serve on, and there was a lot of great discussion. It's interesting because we all have a different style of rating stuff. Some people are quite conservative, some people are not with their numbers, but the scores came out in a very clear highest and medium level, and there was nothing that fell to the level of low.
It's not working.
It's not, yeah, this microphone's not working well.
Yeah, you
So, there was nothing that fell to the level of low, as John said. So it's interesting to see a lot of debate and how it goes, but how everything does tend to cluster. And as far as those items that we have to evaluate, the athletic field study was done, how many years ago? 2013?
You're reading it now.
Yeah, it was about 12 years ago, 13
Yeah, so about 12
ago.
years ago, we had a
Been a while.
study on the fields. It came in at about 7 million, well, it came at 8.5 million for the study. Interestingly enough, the capital project list carries it at around 5.
Well, we have a couple different
Yeah,
parts to it. We have-
okay.
We have about seven.
Comes up to
seven-ish
7,
total.
yeah, so we're in the
Yeah.
ballpark of what it would have cost us 12 or 13 years ago.
Yeah.
So obviously, we need to update that amount, if not the full study. And I don't see necessarily a reason to do the whole study over again, just get it repriced. And just because we're pricing it doesn't mean we're going to do it. It means we need to know how much it costs, so when people want to do it, and there are people that want to, we can have a realistic number. Other things, as John talked about, the senior center should probably be removed until we have a comprehensive plan to do something, because right now there is no plan to do anything. And it's taking up a line that sits there. The Lansing Millis building has a line that's sitting there, and that's pretty much done. So there's a few lines we have to remove. Not that there's money put into them at this point. So it's a great committee to work on. They've done a lot of good work. They also meet at 6:30. But they do it by Zoom, so I can have dinner while I watch. But this is a good report. Thank you.
And I just wanted to note, John, I know you mentioned when you talked about the medium priority of the VMB flooring replacement, that's actually not at the senior center. That one is for different areas throughout town, sorry. We replaced some last time at the senior center. This would be to replace the rest of the flooring that needs replacing here at Town Hall, including the stair treads. I don't know if you've noticed, they're sort of falling apart, coming up and down. So just, yeah, with the duct tape. So sorry,
Yeah,
that's
no,
just,
thank you.
just
Yes,
clarifying.
Clarifying.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Any other questions? No?
I was getting ready to make a motion.
Okay, you can make a motion.
I move that the board accept the capital planning committee's recommendation for the spring annual town meeting warrant as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. That was a great report.
Watching the clock. so
All
we
right,
get
we're right on
schedule for
time,
you.
actually.
We are right on time. Okay. Next up, we have the Enterprise Advisory Committee presentation.
And I'm going to share my screen, because I think I have it here. I need in-between glasses.
Morning, afternoon, evening.
It's close to morning, it's close to morning.
Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, thank you for allowing us to present. A few months ago, somebody asked the question of where does Millis compare for fees with other municipalities in true municipal timeframe. We've now got the data to talk about. I'll introduce Richard Traeger and John Wakolik, other members of the Enterprise Advisory Committee, in case you haven't met them. I'm going to let Richard, who did all this research, kind of talk about the findings. I don't know if you guys have actually reviewed this data before the meeting or not, but there's some
We get it
interesting
before the meeting.
tidbits in there, but I'll
We look
turn
at
it over to
but-
him.
Yeah.
Richard, if you want to sit, you can too. It's up to whatever's easier.
Doesn't make any difference. I'm not that senior.
All right, fair enough.
Okay, 4 minutes. 4 inches away. Okay, so we wanted to compare the fees of like sewer hookups, water, transfer station stickers, and fees for disposing of items, how we compare to other towns. And I basically did it with, you know, towns, you know, close by of about our size. I wasn't gonna compare it to like where I used to, like a place, like a town I used to live in, like Newton. In Newton, everything's free, you know. If you put it out there, it gets picked up. But we're not Newton, we're not 100,000 people, we don't have the Chestnut Hill Mall, et cetera, et cetera. So like here in Millis, if somebody wants to hook up to water, it's $2,662. If you want to hook up to sewer, it's $4,300. If you want to get a transfer station sticker and you're over the age of 62, it's $35. If you're under 62, it's $90. And then at the transfer station, it's $25 to drop off a mattress. Right now, we are not accepting refrigerators and air conditioners. You want to drop off a television set, it's $25. And this pretty much seems within reason of some of these other towns. Yeah, we're charging $25 for a mattress. If you were to charge $40 or $50 for a mattress, you're gonna find them dumped somewhere in the town. So that doesn't make much sense. If we go down to our neighbor, Medway, okay, Medway's close by. If you want to hook up to water, it's $2,500. We're $2,662. Pretty much the same. You want to hook up to sewer, it's $40,000. We're $4,300.
4,000.
It's $4,000. We're $4,300, right.
Yeah.
Okay, what's $300? If you want transfer stations, the first car's free, the second aisle's $15. You want to get rid of your mattress, it's $25. Washer, dryers, $30. Again, they happen to accept air conditioners and refrigerators. We don't, but again, we're still in the same ballpark. If we go to Milford, okay, if it's a 5-inch, 1/8-inch pipe, I guess it's $2,200. 3/4 inch, $3,300. And I don't really know what that means, but 1 inch is $5,500. If you want to hook up to sewer in Milford, you have to get a permit for $1,000. And then the tie-in fee depends on the job, the pipe, and the road work. Again, the transfer station fee is $25, pretty much in ours. Sherborne and Holliston are pretty much all septic, so there's really nothing to compare there. Sherborne for a town has mostly private wells. Holliston to hook up is between 1 inch would be $2,200, 2 inches $4,400. Again, we're right in there. If I go down a little bit more,
Do we know what our hookup is for water? Do we know how
Yeah.
many inches?
it was just on the 2662 to hook.
We're 1 inch? Okay, all right,
I know.
okay.
So that's 2662. If you go to Norfolk, 1 inch is 2750, and 2 inches is 5700. Again, we're right in the ballpark of most of our other neighbors. If I go to Norfolk, a sticker for a senior is $55. Okay, to dispose of a mattress is $40. We're $25. But again, I think if you up some of these fees, you're going to find people dumping things in the town. I mean, you're not going to, if some people just won't pay $50 to dump for a mattress, so they'll dump it. So, yeah. So again, Sudbury is mostly septic, but their water connection fee is $3,500. Natick, again, Natick has a population of 45,000, so we really aren't going to compete with a town like Natick. So for all practical purposes, I feel our fees are right in line with everybody else's.
Okay, great,
Good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll say I didn't get the memo about dressing up before tonight's meeting. Apologize. The capacity model. So this is a work in progress. Have tweaked it if you want to go to the next page, Karen. So up in that yellow box is really an input that allows us to change what our targeted reserve capacity would be. It's set for 10% right now. We already lose 5% from Charles River. This is 10% of the remaining. After the 5% minus the betterment reserve, we then have a working capacity of which this 10% is a factor of that, not of the gross. The key here is ultimately where do we get to number of bedrooms, right? We talk units a lot of times, but it really is bedrooms, right? We get a reserve based on bedroom count. The flow is based on bedroom count, right? So important to grab that number when people are talking about developments here.
Need to stand close to the mic, Jim.
Sorry, I'm also trying to look at the stupid thing.
Thank you.
The people at home can't hear me?
No.
4 inches. You gotta
You
be
can-
4
You
inches.
can actually hold it if you want to stand back.
Sorry. All right, let me just pull this up real quick. I'm sorry, I apologize here. Here we go. And of course, I got an error with PowerPoint. All right, I'll wing it.
I was gonna say, Jim, you can grab that, you can actually grab the mic and hold it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and step back, yeah.
Sure.
Oh,
Hey, there you go.
beauty. Look at that.
That's right.
So up in the upper left is really kind of where we end up with working capacity and targeted working capacity. We've got a block that says what projects are on the books. There's potential projects also on the books that just, through rumor mill or whatever, people say we're gonna go do something. We've got a 3-year rolling gallons per day flow average, which is kind of interesting, and the reason I chart that is because we have a 10% variation from last year's flow to this year's flow. We're 10% under, thanks to the work of the DPW infiltration cops. So that's essentially what all the rolling is. It breaks down with this model, with this reserve against all the projects that are approved. We've got an existing bedroom capacity of 99. That's because of all the reserved flow that's out there. If you take all of that reserve away and go to the kind of the actual of roughly 60 gallons, that says we've got capacity for 568 bedrooms in addition to what is already on the books, right? And that's still within our 10% capacity, okay? We can pop to the next slide. There are 2 projects this model represents as online. Gateway and, who's the other one? The one up on the corner here, right? Ostensibly built, not occupied, for all intents and purposes, they're done, right? That bumps us up to roughly 631 bedrooms or 168 against still existing reserve capacity, right? And then pop next slide. So this is 2024 versus 2025 sewer flow. We're 10% lower than we were a year ago. Weather probably is a big contribution to that. I don't have Q1 2026, where obviously we had a lot of snow. It'll be interesting to see what the Q1 data tells us with respect to last year and the year before. But there's also been a lot of work for infiltration and all of that. Next slide, Karen, thank you.
There you go.
This is existing on the books projects. I still show Main Street, corner Main and Pleasant as 0%, so this is today's state. The Tresca project, I don't think that's been approved yet, right? There's also a Bridge Street one that was on here, but I don't know what happened to it, but it's not, it's, you know, it's coming, but it's not, it's a potential project, right? The thing that we're gonna work on is what is our pump station capacities? Because it's come to light that, by the way, we've got some capacity issues, and we could run into capacity issues down the line where a project comes online and all of a sudden the pump station now reaches capacity, right? That's the issue with Dover Road, which is why Tresca is committed to upgrading it. Timing is everything. And not all sewer lines are connected to a pump station. So, all right, next line. Done. Questions?
No, it was very good, Jim.
Great.
Very good.
It's important.
Yeah.
You gotta know where
Very
we stand,
good.
right?
Yep.
Kind of enterprise contingency planning. So back in November, Bill Harvey, who's a representative of the Medfield Enterprise Advisory, came and talked to us about disaster recovery, contingency planning sorts of initiative. Why would you do that? Well, Bridgewater just recently had some serious issues with their water. I'm sure it's not cleared up. They're getting connected into Middleborough. No idea if that's kind of figured out on the fly or whether they actually had a plan, but it sort of benefits us to probably have a plan for how would we do something in the event we ever had to do something. So that was what the idea was. He mentioned the term contractual terms. We'll get to that in a minute. But the idea is this would not result in any major construction to facilitate unless it was somehow part of a byproduct of a project going on. Rather, how would temporary infrastructure, you know, support the contingency? You know, my mind could be, you know, a bunch of 4-inch fire hoses connecting hydrant to hydrant across the town line or something, right? I mean, it could be something like that to provide flow one way or the other. Not that I think, you know, we're in danger of it, but you just never know. It did come to light through discussion with our DPW, former DPW director. We have 2 connections to Medway. Who knew? We don't have any written agreement in place as to, so maybe we want to, or maybe we don't want to put something kind of in agreement that says what's the contingencies, right? Because it's like, are we obligated to continually pump water if we turn it on? Or is there a threshold that says we're not obligated anymore? I don't know. You can make anything else that you want to make up here, right? Next slide, please. Thank you. So considerations, I already sort of touched on all this, right? Why is it necessary? Well, hopefully it'll never have to be, but an emergency is not the best time to go be figuring things out. Documentation requirements, you know, again, just ideas. Design documents, some kind of an agreement on operational or financial terms, maybe a memorandum of understanding. We put something out with Medway on the shared nurse, it's probably the same sort of thing, right? Just you know, sort of an agreement on what. But that thing would trigger kind of what causes it, why would we do it? And I just want to keep the KISS approach if we can. Town council probably ought to tell us what they think we should have in terms of some document that governs this. And the question is, do we go back and talk to Medway about it, or do we just let it ride? Next. So the ask is really, you know, the EAC and the DPW director agree it's a worthwhile endeavor. From a MISC mitigation perspective at minimal cost for the exploration phase. Does the select board agree? Do we need to engage town council for an opinion on anything? And then, you know, do we need to document something with Medway? Not expecting answers tonight, of course, but.
I know that when we had the enterprise, well, the drinking water committee, the precursor of the enterprise, the precursor to this one, we looked at selling water to Medway for a power plant. And we did go down pretty far. Jim McCaffrey and I were on that committee, and we went
Is that
down.
why we have the connection, or that was?
They decided they didn't want our water, so we stopped looking.
Yeah.
But I think there was talk of a connection. It was complicated, but there was some way to do it on Village Street. But since they decided they didn't need the water, we didn't see a need to keep pursuing it.
Apparently
So I'm
we have
glad
the
to see you're doing
connections.
it.
We
Yeah.
have two connections.
Yeah, that's good.
The one
Yeah.
on 109, David? Yeah, and one on Village. All you gotta do is don't ever turn that valve, I think I heard.
They suggest we turn it once a year just to make sure it works. But other than that,
So, do you have any information on the water thing? With Medway, like, have you had any discussions with the,
Not recently.
No.
It's certainly discussions we can have, and the fact that there's already a connection means that, you know, from a physical facility standpoint, it's just more of an issue of setting up some sort of, you know, agreement or arrangement that in the case of an emergency or some need that we can do that. So it's probably more of
worth
a,
looking into?
yeah, it's more of a discussion with town council and our counterparts over in Medway, so.
All right.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
Good, good.
Great. All right. Next up, we have the presentation of the fiscal year 27 DPW budget.
Thought I was gone.
Oh, no, we didn't.
Thought I was gone. Like a bad thing.
I was just gonna say, like a bad penny, Jim, just,
The best penny Millis ever had.
That's right.
if you do say so yourself,
Yes, I do. You certainly wouldn't.
and you
So-
should.
What we're going to do tonight, I'm going to present the budget itself because this was actually my budget that I did with Mike and Jody back in November. As you know, we have to get the stuff submitted on time. So David didn't come on with us until the end of February, so the budget was already been submitted and pretty much not approved, but had been looked at. So I'll go through that, and then David's going to go over give you the information on the capital items, which he's been handling on that. So the first page I think you have is the organizational chart. The next page is a general description of the DPW, which we submit every single year. It's the general fund budgets. It's highway, transfer station, street lighting, snow and ice, the sewer enterprise fund, water enterprise fund, and the stormwater enterprise fund. That's all under the general direction of the DPW director and the two staff members that work in the office. The requested budget for all of the budgets is $6,571,970. The next page, we're going to get into and of course, this is going to take nowhere near like we used to have a 2-hour discussion when we used to have the budget presentation. The first is the highway, cemetery, parks, roadways, street signs. The FY '27 salaries we're asking is $508,982. That's an increase of $3,832. The fluctuation between where it's not as much as you'll find out in the other is because of, the previous DPW director and the new DPW director, the office manager, and the clerk. All three of us have been changed, so they all came in at a lower rate than where we were. The expenses, it's requested for $455,956. That's an increase of $48,400. The reason for that large increase is in a couple of different folds. One is for the, there's a bunch of contractual items for the landfill, that went up. The water of the fields, it's in the DPW budget, although it probably shouldn't be in the DPW budget, but it is a line item in the DPW budget. It will be this year, when it's all said and done, after we start turning them on in the spring and stuff like that, it will be a significant decrease, deficit. The last fall one we received for the town park and the Clyde Brown was over $30,000+. And that doesn't include the cemetery and all that. It all comes out of those expenses. So that's what that increase would go to. So it's a total of $964,938, and the FY '26 totals was $912,533. $706, so the increase is $52,232. The transfer station, it stayed exactly the same. The salaries were close enough that there was no need to raise them yet because of contract items that will have to be changed in the very near future. So both FY '26 and FY '27 totals is $179,378. Snow and ice, the same, that's a year-over-year cost. It's a fixed rate for salaries and expenses at $219,049 for no increase. You've asked, or was it the Finance Committee asked, the increase of the snow and ice budgets, it's in the upwards of $225,000 to $250,000. That we'll probably get that back to you. David will get that for you before town meeting. And that's the overage of this year. Street lighting, no change in that, $38,850. And so the total increases, FY '26, it was for $1,349,983. FY '27, where the DPW is asking for $1,402,215, and that's an increase of $52,232.
And just one item, just real quickly,
Yep.
for so people understand.
Yep.
Snow and ice, once you increase the snow, correct me if I'm wrong, but
You're-
this is what I remember. Snow and ice budgets, once you increase them, so if we move that to $300,000 or $350,000, you can never, ever, ever take it back. So it's better to keep it at a realistically low number, realistically low, and then have overages on the years you have an unrealistically bad winter. So if that were to go up to $300,000, because look at the winter we just had, we need $250,000 more, that would tie up another $90,000 pretty much in our, or $80,000 in our budget that we couldn't move and use anywhere else.
I have a question. Jim,
Yep.
this street lighting,
Yep.
is that the decorative lighting?
Both. It's for
Both.
both the decorative street lighting and the overhead lights.
Okay, can we talk about the decorative for a
Sure.
second? Because I know we all talked for a minute.
Yep.
Because it's very costly.
Yep.
Right? They get wiped out,
Yep.
a certain percentage every year. And then we talked about moving them, but you can't move them.
No.
There are stone walls everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
You can't move them, it's not a possibility.
right.
Help me,
Well, you could put,
what?
if you look at the ones that have been knocked over all the years that they've been in, they're always the same ones. So you could look at putting bollards beside them, and it could just destroy the car. I can't figure out how they jumped that 12 inch.
I understand.
we've talked
Is
about
it
that.
possible, though, I'm just throwing this out
Yeah, yeah.
there. We have so many of them. Is it possible to just eliminate the ones that get kicked?
That's your decision.
Well, I think
I'd get rid of
technically you
them all.
can.
We need to-
It'd be more an issue of that would drop the lighting
I
and the
know.
aesthetics would be affected, but I mean, technically, I think you could.
But don't
Yeah.
you think we need to do something
I mean, how often are they taken out, though?
every year?
Every year.
We lose a few.
Every year?
Every year.
Only a half dozen a year.
It's,
joke.
it
Luckily,
makes
they-
me, what?
We find that insurance companies, whether we have Bartlett, David's gonna use a new company, they come in, but they fight with the insurance company.
Yeah.
To get all that back, and don't forget, in November, town meeting appropriated for 10 of them.
Yeah.
10 replacements.
I know.
We've got 10 of the caps in, and the poles should be coming in very shortly.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the houses that haven't had one, and I know there's a couple on Main Street that never had, in 15 years haven't had the light because we never could find the insurance company. Now they're finally gonna get one, and they ain't gonna be too happy about it, but,
Well, maybe we should think about the bollard thing. Is there room for a bollard thing? You don't
Yeah,
even
you
have
put it
room
on
to
either side of
plow.
well, you put it on,
Yeah.
in line with them, but that's.
Yeah.
All right,
And this cost, though, is the operational cost of the
This,
streetlights.
correct. Yeah,
This
just
is
for
not
paint,
the
that's right. And
hardware
repair,
cost.
Right, yep.
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
just eat
So it's
that.
just,
Yeah, well, we collect some, I remember from the capital planning, some of it, half of it comes from
Okay.
insurance, and the other half we eat, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
not for nothing. I get it if you do get the insurance, but then they're empty and there's cones and everything about it. You know what I
Well,
mean?
hopefully they'll have enough for to replace them and keeping
Okay.
them.
Okay.
Because there's like 5 that need to be replaced out of the 10. So you'll have a
gonna
stockpile of
keep
5.
five?
But I
Okay.
agree with you.
Yeah.
They're very
I hate it.
unsightly. We
I
lost
hate
the one
it.
in front of the library finally. That's the one I showed you the picture in
Yeah.
November when it was like the leaning
Yeah.
tower. So that finally fell. And
It's
unfortunately,
close enough to the
we've
police,
taken
they should get it.
several of them down with the street plow, the sidewalk plow.
I'm sure.
Next is the enterprise budgets. You can see that, we can talk about it when they're all done, but the FY '27 salaries, this is for the water enterprise fund, is $630,000. And the expenses is $1,845,025. So the FY '27 request is $2,475,326. The FY '26 totals was 2 million, request was 2,261,575. That's a decrease of 146,248. The reason for that is we actually carried a very large amount in one of the line items because we weren't sure about repairs that were gonna be necessary for the wells 1 and 2. That did not come through fruition, so that money's gonna be returned this year to the, or taken out of the budget. So that's why you see the large deduction in that. The sewer, FY '27 salaries is $351,473. The expenses is $1,511,217. So the total for FY '27 is $1,862,690. FY '26, we had a request of $1,702,501, and that's an increase of $160,189. Again, I'll talk about the salaries when I'm done with the 3 presentations, but a large increase is to the Charles River Pollution District. They went up on the, you'll see it in the long budget presentation of the increases, but they went up, and some of the debt, long-term debt, that increased also. The Stormwater Enterprise Fund is for FY '27, the salaries is $329,529. The expenses is $502,210. So that was a total of $831,739. And the request last year was for $774,329. That's an increase of $57,410. All of this could change. Right now, as you know, we're in negotiations with the union that represents the ASCME, and the whole scope of this could change. There's 2 budgets that we did, and we were told to present this one, and it's because this is the one
Which is
that's
big.
on the table right now. That's all we can do right now, if there's an agreement come. So the next is accomplishments. It's the list of paving that we did last year. With the help of town meeting vote, there was $671,045. There's the list of what was paved. The biggest, which not in that 671, is the grant that was paid for Main Street that we received last year, and upwards of $1.2 to $1.3 million. What I have to say about the Main Street project, if they didn't do that, if we didn't get that grant, we would have, all this money would have been poured right into that, because that road was, as we all know, was horrible. I do like, as much as I, first when they came to me, the inlay of the lines, I thought I was gonna hate it. I think it's the best thing that was ever done. I think as you drive over it every single day, they look like it was just painted yesterday. The water accomplishment, the construction of the 6.35 million PFAS water treatment plant, that's a picture of it on the side there. David's down there every day overseeing the construction of that project, and they've caught up. We were a little behind, but we've caught up in construction. Knock on wood, it's going to be on time and under budget as of today. Now that I just jinxed it. And the grants that we received, in the past year was $10,000 Mass DEP funding grant for a new compactor for the transfer station. They'll only give $10,000 for that. And maybe in November, depending on what we have, let me go to the IDP grant, there's $3,780. We've compiled that money over the past 5 or 6 years. If you remember, when we bought the first compactor, we were allowed to keep that money as long as we report every year what our thoughts were going to be with it. And we did pay for that other compactor that's at the transfer station, through this grant. And it states here, last year we got $3,780. We actually have in the bank $19,000, almost $20,000. It's $19,070. And we just, the $30,000 Mass DEP Cyber Security Grant, we just received the final go-ahead. I sent it to you all this afternoon. I'll work with the Kleinfelder in my time that's still remaining here to get that all changed into Mike's name and David's name. And the most thing that I'm proud of that when Mike and I first started this process of these PFAS plants, we promised the Millis residents that we would look and we would uncover every stone to find any penny that somebody would give us. And back in, oh God, it was like 3 years ago, a lawyer came in and he sat us both down and both of us looked at it like, yeah, whatever. And I'm sure he's gonna report, tonight that amount, it's significant. It was a lot of work getting the paperwork and everything that was needed. I mean, this is just an outside source that had nothing to do with Millis. It just had to do with PFAS. And we decided to latch on to this company. The amount that he'll tell you later tonight, we still think that could be doubled, because there's still a second lawsuit that we also tied into that. And whatever mitigation that we're still working with Herman Shoe and the GAF plant. So I think that's my part. You don't want to go through all these pages, do you? You have them, I mean,
We have them, yeah.
Everything that I gave you in the slide deck presentation is the follow-up here.
Okay, my
All right,
turn.
now capital.
All right, we'll start off with the trailer for the transfer station. The one there is pretty beat up, the holes in the floor. There's a beehive that's taken over the hole underneath of it as of right now. That's why the guys sort of stay away and it's caution taped off. So Jim had looked into getting a storage container that basically it's one of the work trailers that's set up with floor, electricity, air conditioning, heat, and everything. The price on that was $17,500, and the delivery charge was $229. And this should last a good long time.
And that's in the capital planning request
Yeah.
sheet.
Yeah.
That's part of the
Correct.
capital planning recommendations.
Yeah.
I think it was a medium.
Yep. Then, did you want me to get into the meter replacement, or do you want to?
That's also part of the
Capital
capital
planning.
planning.
Yeah, so
that
that's
came in,
also
so-
included in the, all these items that Dave is speaking about are in the capital article, in the draft warrant. So
Okay.
they're all included.
But that's a pretty significant
Yeah.
one
That's
compared
the
to the
biggest
trailer.
one.
Yeah, why don't we talk
Yeah.
about that
Yeah,
anyway?
I
Yeah,
think
what do
that'd
you-
be worth it.
Are you scheduling this?
Right now, we're just waiting on the approval and everything. It should be scheduled because of the billing aspect of it. We had almost 1,000 non-reads last quarter, and so that's revenue that they're just estimating on, which could
Right.
work in either direction, because they could estimate high and then the next bill is gonna be low, so.
Yeah, when we evaluated this at the capital planning committee, it was one of the few items where there was actually revenue, that we've ever evaluated, where there's revenue implications to it.
Yes.
It's because, they're estimating reads, and it has to be done, either it's being done piecemeal as they replace the ones that aren't reading, or
Yeah.
it's gonna be done in a comprehensive way.
Yeah, is that the plan?
Right now,
Or
it's a
you're gonna go
comprehensive.
down a street and,
No, that's what we did, and they got no reads.
No, I mean, are you gonna replace them all?
Oh,
on- yeah.
yes, that's
Yeah.
what the plan is.
That was
They're-
the plan,
The,
yeah.
the company's gonna come in and the price in this includes installation of the meter and reader. Some of the numbers are different because the guys have been replacing the readers with the high-tech readers.
Right.
So we're saving almost 1,500 on that, 1,500 readers.
And there's no cost to the homeowners or business owners?
No.
None? Are you,
Well,
Well-
don't say there's no.
oh, I know, I know,
Right.
I know.
The
You know
cost
what
of
I
the,
mean.
not individually, the
No.
You know
cost
what
of
I
the
mean.
project is
Water.
part of the water
Right.
bills.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you planning on replacing every meter in town?
All the ones that are not
Oh,
able to
okay.
read. So this system comes with a new radio system as well, which is gonna be on towers, the two water towers and one of the radio towers that we're being built, hopefully. That will help with us not having to go out and read them, because they can actually read them right downstairs. There's actually gonna be a portal where the residents can look on their meter and get their billing ahead of time. It will help with water breaks, because once they set into the program, it'll tell if there's a high reads or low reads, so the water usage will be all accounted for. And this quote too is, the tariffs are on here, so a lot of that is gonna go away since there's nothing, so there's
Right.
almost $30-something thousand in tariffs as well, it's gonna be taken right off the top.
Yeah, and this came in as one of the 3 highest priority items.
I mean, I could tell you the one at my house, I've lived there for almost 25 years, and it's the same reader, and they're only supposed to last for 5 years.
Yeah.
It's still working.
And it's, well, I'm sure it's gonna be one of the ones that's gonna get changed, and nobody's gonna be happy about it.
Is there any other questions on the water meters?
No?
I don't think so.
And then, the other thing that was given to me was, asking for one new person. Jim asks for them every year.
It's your turn.
Yeah, no, it's my turn. Yeah.
I think Jim was here for a lot of years before we did one, so, welcome, Dave.
I'll mark this date.
Like 20.
Yeah.
Start counting.
So I probably won't be here when you come and really should get it, so.
So, the one person, the budget on that with health insurance, all the base salary, hourly rate is $81,828.48 a
Okay.
year.
Thank you.
Is this person to fill out the park thingy that we're trying to do, or another
No,
one?
that-
You
if
can
don't
tell
mind,
me.
That's part of the negotiations, and if it pans out, there could be no cost, but it's
Okay.
all under
Yeah.
negotiation.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I'm having a hard attack with it.
All right, early.
Yeah.
So there's a few.
No, it's not a published hearing. It's not a published hearing. Oh, Jay's not here. Text him.
Yeah, and then you can do the minutes too. You can do all 3 of those.
All right, we're gonna stick to our timing because we advertised our discussion for 7:45, so we're gonna move a couple things up. So what we're gonna do next is our approval of CM at Risk contract for the middle high school building project.
So thank you, Madam Chair. In your packet, you'll see the agreement for construction manager at risk services, owner construction manager agreement for the Millis Middle High School project. The school building committee and our owner's project manager have requested that the board approve the agreement and ask the board to authorize me to execute the agreement between the town of Millis and Fontaine Brothers, Inc. of Springfield, Massachusetts for the middle high school project, and further authorize an amount not to exceed $216,000 for pre-construction services.
Okay, I move that the board approve and authorize the town administrator to execute the agreement for construction manager at risk services between the town of Millis and Fontaine Brothers, Inc. of Springfield for the middle high school project, and further authorize the amount not to exceed $216,000 for pre-construction services.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Great, thank you.
Next, how about liaison updates?
Okay. My time to shine. What do you
It is
got?
your time. I have nothing.
I attended the Capital Planning Committee meeting and approved the report they presented, and I approved the school building construction to authorize the Fontaine Brothers, so nothing. You've acted on everything that I had.
I went to the Economic Development Committee meeting on March 26th. And it was good. They're talking about the permitting guide, as you know. We're 99% through, and we need another 10%. We're waiting to hear on how that's going to happen. The housing production plan update, which we'd only had one meeting, so that wasn't a lot. And it was a slideshow with a organization that's telling us about our 40B picture history and where we are, et cetera, but we've already talked about it, so we'll just keep on keeping on with that. And then I went to the Energy Committee meeting on March 31st. Okay, doesn't sound like, and they're talking about the specialized energy code, right? So that's a big change that Millis is probably gonna, it'll be on town meeting at some point, not this one. But what it is, it's some more restrictions on when you build a new house and when you do an addition. And in order to get certain grants, we need to adopt it, right? Because we've done everything else. We're a climate action leader. We've submitted a plan. And now this is the new, they called it a specialized opt-in stretch energy code, which is pretty much all electric, right? No more fossil fuels. And it's a little bit big, I think, for the builders and for homeowners. One of the things, I just think this is interesting, so I'm just going to say it, because we have time to kill. If you want a gas stove in your house, you need to put a little solar array on your property to undo what you're doing with the gas stove. So it's like a little teeny weeny kilowatt solar array that you could put on your roof, and then you can have a gas stove. I'm not making this up. That's one of the more whatever. And then, of course, the plug-ins in your garages for your future drive-itself car, and a few other things. But as I said, like 44 or 45 towns have already adopted it out of like 351. More are adopting it every year. And they hold out this carrot of grant money. I mean, it's extraordinary. You can get like $1 million grant. A town can apply for $1 million grant when you adopt this. And if you don't adopt it, you don't get it. So I'm sure at some point we'll be adopting it, but we're not going to be adopting it in the spring because the Energy Committee is going to have some forums, and invite builders in, get their opinions, and then it'll probably be in November. So that's that. And then the final thing is, if we want to become a tree city, so there's this tree city thing, which is kind of funny. And so I think the only thing you need to do to be a tree city, if you drill down, is you have to have an Arbor Day celebration. So that's kind of cool. So we may be having an Arbor Day celebration, if somebody can tell me when it is. And that makes us a tree city. All of these things, seriously, this is what I've learned. All of these things are mandated, more or less, by the state. And then they give you people from the state to help you implement them, right? You see how circular this is? And once you do it, you get all these stars and asterisks next to the name of Millis, then you are eligible for a whole host of grants. And if you don't, you're not. And we want to be, because we're almost there anyway. So it's, I think, good in the end, and everybody's going in this way. So that's our future.
Okay,
Good enough?
yes.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for liaison updates?
Yep.
Okay.
You texted Jay.
We are going to, I don't think so. So we are going to review and approve the draft minutes of March 23rd, 2026.
I don't think I can stretch this out until
No.
Jay gets here.
You can't. that's
But
okay.
anyway, yeah, it was a great meeting. You should have attended. Some of you did. I move that the board approve the draft minutes from 3/23/26 as written.
Second.
That's as long
Okay,
as
it's
I
been
can
moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. All right. Give me a second here.
What's the
Good
local springing regular?
Well, we need
That's
Jay for
Jay
that.
also.
Oh, that's Jay.
Yeah.
If you'd like, Madam Chair, we could begin going through the
start going
warrant.
through
I
the
Yeah,
don't
let's
expect we'll
look
be
at
able to
that.
get through it in the next 7 minutes, but we could certainly
Well,
begin going
Okay.
through it if
Yeah.
you'd like. So in the board's packet, you have a copy of a draft annual town meeting warrant. There are 24 articles on the draft that I'm putting before you tonight. Some of them have not been formally approved and added by the board. I'm requesting this evening that you consider doing some of those this evening. And the first one is Article 1.
Do you want them to vote to open first?
That's probably a good idea.
Okay.
Just throwing it
I'll
out
make a
there.
motion to open the town meeting warrant.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. So Article 1, I'm recommending that the unpaid bills article be removed, since in discussions with the Finance Department, we have no unpaid bills, which is a good thing. So I'm asking that the board vote to remove that item and replace it with an article to
Ambulance.
which would transfer the sum of $70,000 from Article 3 of the operating budget of the May 5th, 2025 annual town meeting to the ambulance revolving fund. There's $70,000 that was transferred into the general fund from the ambulance revolving fund back last May. Those funds are not needed, and they should be placed back into the ambulance revolver fund, and it does require a vote at town meeting to accomplish that.
Okay.
So the next, if you want me to just go through them, and then
Yeah.
you could take a vote on everything. So the next item is an authorization, is an addition of an article to authorize a borrowing for the water meter replacement project, as identified in Article 8. So that, again, that
Is
would.
that Article 2 on our list? It says operate available funds for additional operating expenses. The one that I have in my hand, I don't know what's in the package.
This is what I have right here.
No, this is Article 9.
Okay.
Oh,
Authorize
Oh, you're going through
borrowing
the
for
changes.
water meter-
Thank you.
No, I'm
Oh.
jumping. I'm only hitting
Yeah.
the changes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we're not jumping.
I'm not,
Okay.
I'm not touching upon the articles that are basically unchanged since your last meeting. And just to let you know, these articles have been reviewed and approved as to form by town council, at least the ones that are complete. We did have several that weren't complete that we're still working on, and I'll get to that. But Article 9 again, is to authorize the borrowing for the water meter replacement program, of which you just heard about from the
Okay.
DPW
Yep.
director. That requires a 2/3 vote to approve that. The next item of interest is the,
Skip 12.
you'll be taking up Article 12. That's part of the discussion on possible transfer of land, so you'll be taking that up later this evening. Article 16, that has to do with The pilot agreement for 1073 Main Street. As I mentioned at the last meeting, that has to do with a solar farm that's being built at that location. I'm still working with town council and our finance office to put together the language for that item, so that's why there's no formal language there yet. We expect to have that later this week. Article 18 is to amend the zoning bylaw, battery storage systems. We're still waiting for final language from the planning board for that. I believe their public hearing on that is tomorrow evening. So we'll have language, I expect, by Wednesday of this week. Article 19, which I'm asking to be added, is good news. This is what was discussed early this evening by our former DPW director, having to do with PFAS settlement funds that the town's been awarded as part of a class action lawsuit. And this would be to appropriate the sum of $1,168,158.69 for the purpose of the PFAS remediation capital projects. So this would help offset those projects and lessen the cost to the ratepayers for that construction. Be asking to add a new Article 20, and that's to rescind the borrowing authorization previously approved in the amount of $206,021 for the DeAngelis Well Project, wells 1 and 2. Let me see if I missed any here. I believe that's all the major changes to the warrant that I'm requesting this evening, and I'll ask the finance director if I missed anything. Okay. So for the vote this evening, I'd be asking the board to vote to remove the original Article 1 and replace it with a new Article 1 for the $70,000 for the transfer of ambulance revolving fund receipts, and then to add an Article 9, a new Article 9, and that is for a borrowing authorization for the water meter replacement program. And then it's the addition of Article 19 for the transfer for PFAS settlement funds, and Article 20 for the rescind of the borrowing authorization. And then, again, the board will need to make a decision regarding Article 12.
Okay.
All right, so should we close the hearing, the warrant right now, reopen
think
it
you
again
can-
after
No,
Jay, or
I
make
think you
these?
can just leave it
Just
open.
leave it open
Just leave
until
it
you get
open,
back
okay.
to it.
Council disagrees, but I think it's just open and you'll
I
close
didn't know if
it
it was
when
like
you're
a
done.
hearing. Yeah.
And stay open till later in the meeting.
Something slips in.
Unbeknownst to us.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we are just about there. So we have a full house here. We are going to continue a discussion on the consideration of land transfer to the Millis Housing Authority. On the 23rd, we had a meeting, and we had a very lively discussion. We had a lot of people come to that meeting as well, and a lot of people who wished to speak. We discussed a lot of topics, a lot of concerns, a lot of valid concerns were brought up. The discussion has been to consider a transfer of land to the Millis Housing Authority, and the two properties that we've been discussing are the Braun property or the Cassidy property, because those happen to be two properties that have space for such a project that we happen to own. There was a lot of questions, though, that came up, more procedural questions, zoning type questions, that we just didn't have the answers to. So we have counsel here tonight who does have a variety of answers to those questions, which will be very helpful. So what I'd like to do tonight, I don't know, Jay, did you want to kick off with a few comments, or did you want to just start answering some questions?
I mean, I could do a little bit
Of both?
of both.
Okay, so what we're gonna do, let me just get a pulse here. I think what we'll do is we'll have Jay kick it off with, a little bit of information. We'll get some comments and questions from folks that are here. Jay will be able to help us answer some questions that maybe we didn't have the answers to before. So just so that I can get an idea, can you please raise your hand if you plan to speak this evening? Okay. So I'm going to say, I'm going to give people around 3 minutes each to speak, just in the interest of time so that everyone has the opportunity. What I'd like to try to do is keep it to something new. You know, we understand it's wet. We've talked about the wetness. We understand that there's concerns about traffic. I think Jay's going to get into some of those particulars in terms of the questions that we couldn't answer, which surround some of those topics. So let's try to keep it to something new that maybe Jay has not addressed by the time you get up to speak. And I'll get through all of you that wanted to speak. And then we'll deliberate a little bit. And then we will, since we already opened the town meeting warrant, we're going to go back and discuss the town meeting warrant some more and decide what we're doing with this particular article for this topic. Sound good? I like it. Okay. All right, Jay, go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to talk about some of the basics based upon the project as I understand it. I don't have all of the details of the project, but my understanding is that we have a town-owned property without any kind of restriction on it for general municipal use. A municipal use of a property includes for affordable housing, that is a public use, includes even if we convey it to someone else, if we're getting a restriction back. So the basics in terms of,
No. Pull it closer. No.
They're on and
Really
off.
close, I'm sorry.
so,
They're
sorry.
gonna come yell at us.
So the basics as far as what we can do with this property are satisfied. Another component that I've heard is, what is the timing vis-a-vis the permits and the town meeting action? Town meeting can operate to give authority for the select board to convey the property or dispose of it. It can have conditions on that, but that doesn't mean we have to then immediately convey it. That conveyance can be subject to contingencies, the biggest of which would be a permitting contingency, so all approvals. So we wouldn't have to actually convey that property unless and until the end user obtains all the necessary permits. So I had heard that that was a concern in terms of the timing, but that is pretty typical the way these things would work. We're not just going to say, hey, here's our property, good luck with it, and then never get it back if the permitting doesn't work out. They would be put to their due diligence to get that permitting done. Obviously, there'd be an agreement that covered that where we'd be cooperating with them to the extent we can as a select board in that permitting process. And as to that permitting process, we would be involved with it because it would likely come via Chapter 40B. Chapter 40B is kind of the big exception statute. We have a number of 40B projects, including a number over the last few years. 1060 Main Street is maybe the most visible one we have. We have another one further down Main Street towards the Medfield Town Line. We've done a few other 40Bs over the last few years. Pretty typical way to do affordable housing. It allows some relief from local bylaws, not just zoning, but local, if there's local wetland bylaws, local requirements regarding some infrastructure development. All of those things get combined into that single permitting process. What does that permitting process look like? Well, while it's going, it has a lot of the same features as any other permitting process if you were permitting a subdivision or if you were permitting a shopping plaza where there'd be meetings, plans presented, and public hearings. There would be a public hearing that would probably last the better part of 6 months, because that's the standard for 40B. At that hearing, all kinds of things would be on the table. We call that a comprehensive permit application, and it's called a comprehensive permit application because it's taking all the permits that would normally come from other sources, not all of them, but most of them, and they'll all be combined into one comprehensive permit to be issued by the Zoning Board of Appeals. Now, the Zoning Board of Appeals gets a lot of help along the way because boards like Conservation and Planning, Board of Health, DPW, water, sewer, stormwater, they all have input into that. But ultimately, it's the zoning board that gets to make all those decisions. It's a very public process. It's a very deliberate process. There are opportunities throughout the process for public input, which is really important because sometimes we just don't understand and can't quite see what the public may see. So it can be very interactive. It can be very thorough and normally is. And then at the end of the day, we write a lengthy decision, normally about 15 or 20 pages. It's pretty comprehensive, that sets forth expectations. During that process, we normally expect that a project is going to evolve for the better, for the community. Sometimes it means that the appearance of it changes. Sometimes it means that the density gets a little less. Sometimes it means that we make improvements as to vehicular access. All those things are part of that process. The zoning board gets to avail themselves of professional engineers at an applicant's expense throughout that process. So that's all kind of what we have in front of us. And there's a whole bunch of other steps along the way, but those are the basics. Chapter 40B can be somewhat controversial because it is more developer friendly than some other projects. In a project like this, where the town is kind of a co-sponsor of it, we would probably do some negotiation on the front end of some of the project's features, whether it be access issues or aesthetic issues or wetland issues or open space or recreation. You know, we would have a lot of those discussions ahead of time because the applicant would want us to say, we endorse this project. So that would be the goal that we'd be trying to get to with these cooperative 40B projects. Not all 40B projects are cooperative, but this would be the kind of project, especially because the Housing Authority is a significant sponsor of the project, that we would expect that it would be very cooperative.
Okay, thank you. Now, before I open it up to these folks, were there any further questions that the board wanted clarified?
The main piece of this was when Nicole from the planning board got up last time and said, so I was wrong. I'll be the first one to admit it, because Dave Baker was in the audience and he did it right. I did it wrong. I did think that this property got deeded immediately because it doesn't matter why. But Dave Baker was the one that stood up and said that when the land gets designated, and my head is all spinning with deeded. So I was wrong. The biggest thing was when Nicole got up and say, hey, how do you deed it? If he doesn't get anything, are you gonna deed it back? No, it's a contract. That was the biggest piece that I thought was a little bit messy a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and since Ellen's admitting her mistakes, I might as well admit mine. I thought this went through the planning board, and I was entirely wrong. It's the zoning board of appeals that runs this, so that's why we brought an expert in, quite honestly. But I have a question also. So under this applicant, the application process, if the sewer isn't up to standard, can that be put in as a clause that they either agree to do or we don't issue the permit? Is that something that's allowable? Because there's concerns about a lot of these things, but that seems like a big one.
Right. So sometimes when we do these projects where there's a likely kind of cooperative bent to it, we'll negotiate some of these key infrastructure pieces ahead of time. Certainly, because sewer is going to be a component of this project, the zoning board's going to look at that anyway, and we'll probably have review and peer review. If we know that there are infrastructure improvements or upgrades, extensions, or whatever it may be ahead of time, then we'll probably have that discussion ahead of time, because obviously sewer or wastewater disposal is a very key part to any residential project. So we try and clear the decks when we're working closely with an applicant to all these key kind of go, no-go issues ahead of time. So there's plenty of time for us to do that. None of this happens overnight. I'll give you an idea just of a timeline, a typical 40B timeline. Let's say town meeting acts in May. They vote to approve this. What we would probably do next, and we might even start it a little before town meeting, is work on kind of a development agreement with the housing authority or any end user, just to kind of understand our expectations and what they can put into it, and we can work on that, and we can build in some of the mitigation that we like. Then they've got to get what we call project eligibility from a subsidizing agency. In this case, probably the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, which is the old DHCD. And we'd work closely with them on that too, because it's a multi-part process. That's a few months unto itself. So after town meeting, it's not like, hey, we're going marching into the zoning board. It doesn't work like that. There'll be due diligence done by the state to make sure that it meets their subsidy requirements. It probably will, but they'll do a site visit. They'll solicit comments from local boards as well as the public on that. They'll issue a conditional project eligibility letter, and then the applicant can go to the ZBA. So we could expect, if everything went really quick, maybe the fall for that, but could be pushing into late 2026, early 2027, by the time they get to the zoning board. And then we've got a few months at the zoning board.
Right, and the land does not transfer until everything is in place to build.
That's for their benefit
Yeah,
and
and
our
ours, yeah.
benefit, right. They don't want to be, having a piece of property locked up that they can't do anything with.
Right, and we don't want to give a piece of property that
Right,
just
that we
sits.
might have another
Yeah.
use for down the road.
Right, okay.
Okay,
That answers my questions that I had.
great. All right. So if I could get the first person to come up, who wants to be brave? I see a hand with a paper in it, whoever that was. Okay, wonderful. For anybody that speaks, if you could just identify yourself by name and address and have the microphone about 4 inches from your face, that would be great. Thank you.
Hi, Andrew Manning, 12J William Heights. I spoke last time at the last meeting. Since then, I was able to reach out to the town to get some additional information. I'm here on basically opposing this project. There have been numerous amounts of 40B affordable housing projects in this town, landing in people's backyards, and quite frankly, enough is enough. What I don't hear, what I have heard from you folks, is that we need more affordable housing. And I hear Millis is at 5.71%. What we're not saying is there's a pipeline of existing projects already in line. 114 Union Street, and this information comes from our own economic planning department. 114 Union Street, 1178 Main Street, and I'm assuming that's the smaller scale 40B approval, not the expanded one that we are entertaining, and Cobble Knoll. If all those projects move forward, that's going to put us at a 10.2% SHI, subsidized housing index, over the state's 10% threshold. What I don't understand is there's something called safe harbor, and if have made progress within 1 to 2 years, you just mentioned when we were talking about the sewer, the projects, 1060 Main and the Gateway project, we've made significant progress. When I reached out to the town, there is no effort whatsoever to go into safe harbor to allow this to develop at a decent clip. To me, that doesn't make any sense. And now we're talking about giving land, not even selling it. We've paid taxpayer money and allowing another 40B on top of this without going to safe harbor. That 10.2% also doesn't include 34 Bridge Street, which is in approval for comprehensive permit for 40B, which would push us even further than the 10.2. And on top of that, we just rezoned a bunch of land downtown, MBTA, and this town is proposing a 15% requirement of affordable units when those go up. So it wouldn't hurt us on the 10%. With those projects, if they all move forward, yes, we will likely build more single-family residents. There's a lot of land in town, but we would have significant legroom. So I don't understand why we're not applying for safe harbor. That's somewhat related to this project, somewhat related to others. If I was a butter to 34 Bridge, I would be asking, why have we not entered safe harbor, or why is nobody attempting to at least prolong this? So that's a question I have for you folks. If all those projects go forward, the housing authority would control roughly 20% of that affordable housing. So it's not like we don't have anything.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I would just like to, your initial assumption, there's a difference between 40B and this project, a huge difference.
understood. I just heard him
Well-
say differently, though.
Well, no, he said it qualifies under a 40B project. A 40B project, 25% of the houses, of the units,
And I
have to be,
understand- I
well, let me
understand.
make sure everybody understands it, because you have it wrong when you said what you just said. 25% have to be affordable. Because we're in the same market as Cambridge for affordable, $3,000 a unit is considered affordable in Millis. It's affordable in Cambridge where my kid lives, but it's not affordable here. This project is Millis Housing, which qualifies under 40B, and Jay, stop me if I say something wrong. It qualifies under 40B, but these people are paying $50 minimum. So if you have no income, you pay $50 in rent. That's affordable. Most of the people pay between $300 and $800 in rent. That's also highly affordable. We're going after this, even if we were in Safe Harbor, we would need to build homes to accommodate people who live in this town but can no longer afford to live in this town. A woman who spoke last week graduated high school with my sister-in-law. She loves it there. She could never have afforded to live in this town that she grew up to, went to this building for elementary school, went to that building, well, the old building for elementary school, went to the high school for high school. And she would have been driven out of town if not for Millis Housing, where she's paying 30% of her income, no matter what her income is, to live in this town. I'm sorry? Yeah, her income was 35 grand, so she's paying 30% of that. That's why this, even though it qualifies under the 40B regulation, is totally different than a 40B project. The rest of your points about 40Bs, I think that's worth investigating. But to lump this one in with something where a developer is charging $3,000 for rent, and somebody else is paying $1,000, $800 for rent is misleading at best. So it does qualify as 40B. It does count at 40B. As your safe harbor bit goes, that's worth looking at. I think that makes a lot of sense.
So let me fill in some of the gaps there just a little bit. 40B is a permitting process.
Right.
It has nothing to do necessarily with the unit count, except the minimum, as you said, is going to be 25% affordable units. And that's the trade-off that we had when we essentially privatized affordable housing in the Commonwealth.
Right.
So when we're going to do that, then a for-profit developer needs to make more money, so they're going to have 75% of them be a full 100% market rate, and the 25%, which is, you know, what I would refer to more as moderate income housing. Yeah. You can under 40B, because again, it's a permitting process, you could go up in the number of affordable units and down in terms of the actual percentage of the area median income that you're using. When we're working with nonprofits and quasi-nonprofits or governmental entities, we generally will look at projects that are 100% affordable, all of the units being affordable, at a much lower percentage of the area median income to meet that belt of affordability that we don't otherwise normally meet under the 40B process, whereby we're getting some important middle income units, but we're not serving a different entity, whether they're elderly or folks just starting out or folks that have other issues that disable them from being able to afford even those moderate income ones. Right. Now, as to safe harbor is important. 10% is an important goal. Of course, 10% gets recalculated every 10 years with the census. We've got 4 years left. If we got to just over 10%, we'll go back under, because the total number of housing units will change with the next census. So we want to get that cushion. There are other safe harbors as well, including making progress, as the gentleman suggested, over a period of like a year or two. We are not in safe harbor right now. Safe harbor is not something you apply for either. It's either something that exists or it doesn't exist. The last few projects that we have would have helped us make some progress towards safe harbor, but that time periods that we had for that are not any longer applicable to us. They could become applicable, and we should be able to avail ourselves of safe harbor, which is an option the zoning board gets to apply. But safe harbor doesn't mean, to your original point, that we deny projects. It means that we have the authority to impose conditions on projects so that we don't have to put up with a project that we don't like. That is not usually the case with these cooperative projects, because we are working hand in hand with nonprofit entities that really want to do something great for people in super need. It is very helpful if we get a 40B project on a site we don't like. And if we're in safe harbor for one of those, we want to reserve that ability to have the zoning board either say no or chop that project up in a way that makes more sense for the community. But I do a lot of work in and around safe harbors, and it's rarely the tool that I think the state has led us to believe it is. We use it, but it's more frequently used to kind of shape things and to kind of make little bits of progress where we can. As it is right now for this particular project, I can't say for certain as whether the zoning board would have a safe harbor or not. We'll cross that bridge when we get to permitting in 6 or 9 months from now. And if there's a safe harbor available, there's a process for the zoning board to invoke it and use that invocation to help make the project better or potentially deny it. It's up to the zoning board, but it's generally used as a tool to gain back a little bit of leverage that we lose when we have 40B to begin with. Right now, I'm not aware of us being in any safe harbor or even close to the 10%. Even 1060 Main, those units fell off of our subsidized housing inventory because we don't have the occupancy yet. I think we're close to occupancy there. They'll jump back on our subsidized housing inventory when we get those things starting to be occupied, and they'll start to count on our subsidized housing inventory. But the progress related safe harbors aren't available to us, at least not yet. There may be some intervening projects that will get us closer to that, but I'm not aware of them applying right now.
Who would be responsible for seeking that?
Well, it's not, what would happen is when a new project comes in and it starts heading towards the zoning board, we'll do those calculations as we always do, as with the subsidizing agencies, see if either the progress related or the 10% affordable housing safe harbors are available. There's some other safe harbors available too. They're a little less used, but we normally, when I'm assisting the Zoning Board of Appeals on 40Bs, we'll normally go through that exercise as soon as we see a notice for project eligibility, which is that that step that happens before we get to the Zoning Board of Appeals. We get notice of an application for project eligibility. We generally work with staff, myself and Mike and Karen will work with staff, with Bob Weiss, to find out where we are with both the progress and the 10%, so we can then counsel the zoning board on their options under safe harbor.
I have two quick comments. I know my time's gone, but it's been extended. It's gone through a trail I didn't expect. My last comment to that is just related to 40Bs. I hope we seek to find safe harbor. These projects are going into people's backyards for zone single family. And outside of this project, and this project included, people are looking in their backyards and seeing a massive multifamily, and none of you would want that in your property, so I would ask you to consider that. 2 quick points. This is subsidized housing. I went through it down the road with affordable versus very affordable, which this is, and I know the differences, but they will not be paying taxes. You indicated they would be doing some type of pilot program, but it would be significantly reduced.
Well, I might have been wrong on that one too.
So whether or not the owner of a rental project pays taxes depends upon the corporate status of that owner. The mere fact that the housing authority owns the underlying land is not necessarily the only indicator as to whether or not taxes would be paid. If the project itself is owned by a for-profit entity, there could be some tax benefit. I don't know the answer to that yet until we figure out the formational issues with respect to who's going to be the applicant and who's going to be the beneficiary of that. Sometimes we don't get much tax from these cooperative, more public-oriented 40B projects.
But-
That's 100% accurate,
So,
but
yeah.
that story isn't written yet.
Yeah, and the existing Millis Housing does pay a pilot that was put in place way back when. Yeah.
But it will be significantly less. In a time where we face budget troubles, we would be on the hook for all town services, DPW, water, sewer. My last comment, very quickly, Medfield is going through a similar situation. We all talk that this will be directly for Millis residents, and we talk about the 8 or 10 vacancies. But I'd like to acknowledge, they have to follow a CHAMP program, and there's certain guidelines. And yes, if you're a resident, you get in front of that. But, you know, one of the first requirements is homeless and a bunch of different categories that could jump over Millis residents. So Medfield has shown some frustration towards how that process has gone, and I don't think they've gotten the full-scale residential benefit that they thought. So I just want to acknowledge that. As much as we say this is for Millis residents, all that housing authority will do is follow that CHAMP guideline. So, thank you. They have to. It's state
No,
guideline. They have to.
you're correct. You're correct on that. Scotty.
It's state law.
I do want to make one comment, though, on the taxes versus pilot program. It depends on what kind of program this ends up with, what kind of developer does the RFP, and what Millis Housing wants. I do know, after speaking with Candace, that she wanted to be here tonight. She has pneumonia. I told her to stay home. She said that the one that they are looking to put into their RFP is that the housing authority will own the land. Okay, they will keep ownership of the land. They don't transfer it to this developer. The developer, if it is a for-profit, like Jay said, if it is a for-profit, the developer comes in, manages and maintains the facilities. The developer actually has an office in the facility. And when you want your light bulb changed, you go to them. And if they're a for-profit, they will pay taxes, and not a pilot program. Now, and they collect the rent, by the way. So they take care of it, And then, in the agreement, however Candace and that Millis Housing Authority fashion it, they will have a right of first refusal. So come 10 or 15 or 20 years, whatever the period is, that the for-profit developer gets his money back, is paid back, then the housing authority takes over the maintenance of the facility. So that's the way that she envisions the RFP to go out. But I will say this about the taxes. If you're a property owner like I am, and you have a building like that, and you have rents, well, it's an income-producing property, right? It's not like your house, where the Board of Assessors has a figure of what they think it's worth, and they tax you to death. This is an income-producing property. So there's a whole capitalization number. I'm not going to bore you. It took me 50 years to learn it. The lower the income, the less the taxes that will be paid, obviously, and this will be a lower income-producing property. So even though it's taxes, it's not going to be like a market ready, a market-rated apartment building. That's all.
Okay, let's take another comment. Mr. Jermaine.
Good evening, Pete Germain, 21 Causeway Street. I have more questions than anything else, and that's sort of what I really want to go through tonight. The questions deal with the fact that I have concerns that the seniors be able to, in fact, who are in this town, be able to live in the town. So let me go through what essentially are 8 areas of questions that I have. The first one is tax implications, and this was touched on, but the reality is these people are going to need fire, police, EMT, DPW, a variety of things. Who's going to contribute to that base? And what's the net cost to the town? We need to understand that as town residents. Number two, we talked about how the land may be distributed, but we need to understand also who's responsible for maintenance, how is the construction going to take place and who monitors that, who builds the infrastructure and who's responsible for paying for that infrastructure, sewer, water, electricity, all of that. Three, will the residents be permitted to have children in those facilities, recognizing that some seniors, in fact, take over management of children for others. So we need to understand if there's going to be a cost in that area, how is that cost going to be handled? Four, if the state does portions of this construction or manages the construction or anything else, what controls does the town have at that point? Now, I heard that it'll be others who are responsible, the builder and so on. It's all nebulous in the way I've heard it. It could be this, it could be that, it could be a variety of things. Do Millis residents get the right of first occupancy in these buildings? And how about abutters? Are we going to take into account the fact that some abutters are not going to want necessarily a multi-story structure on those properties because it'll change the way in which they view their environment here in Millis? I just bring these up as questions. Regarding the Braun property, how will the DEP allow a change in wetlands designations when we've already got them? I'm concerned when I heard last time on, well, we'll take measurements when it's dry. Regardless, I'm just concerned how that's going to be done, who will do the assessment, how will the assessment be done? Are there specific people in the state, DEP, and others that we should be aware of who are going to be responsible for managing that process? Sewer capacity. We know that we're at about 103% of our Charles River capacity right now. That's a given. The question is, when I begin hearing, well, we can connect into Medway, is Medway going to permit it? Who approves? What's the cost? How is it going to happen? Is there an impact to the town of Millis? Because this was brought up the last time. And we heard that there's sewer connectivity and a sewer line going by there. That turns out to be a high-pressure line. You can't connect into a high-pressure line. How about the rights to connect for those who already have sewer rights but have not chosen to connect at this point? I've heard that, oh, well, we have capacity. Is that capacity based on the fact that these people will be having their rights taken away? I just don't know. I'm asking the question. There's a local manhole there. That was brought up the last time. That needs substantial analysis. It was put in, what, 20, 30, 40 years ago? And if we don't have sewers, are they going to have a package plant? The last two are, what about expansion in our existing infrastructure of schools? There may come a time when we have to expand further, Millis High School, Middle School, or anything else. That says we may have to go into some of the playing fields and so on. I'm not saying we're going to, but it's a concern. How does this fit with the town master plan if we have to do so? And therefore, how does it impact our ability to use, say, playing fields over at Braun or one of these other locations? And finally, the real question that I have that bothers me is, I know that GAF property hasn't really been discussed in any detail, but let's recognize that property is an easy walking distance for seniors to get to Milliston or whatever that, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name, but that particular area. The question in my mind is, yes, I know the property has contamination, but have we talked with our state reps about, is there a way to allow this to move forward, that the state will work with us so we could use that property rather than something else and put the seniors there where they're more available to town services? I have talked, by the way, with some of our state reps, and there is an interest in working with us in that area. At any rate,
Okay.
those are the questions I have.
So we'll try to go through, we'll try, that's a
We can't
lot.
say you
I
have
would
do
like
it
to
all
hit a couple
tonight.
of them, though,
But just
that, yeah.
first and foremost, everybody in this room and everybody in the town of Millis, we, the town, we do not own the GAF property.
Know
Does
that.
any, well, what, he wants $20 million for it.
Okay, I'm just saying to you, it's there. Nobody's saying we have to buy it. Nobody's saying we have to use it. But I am saying it's there. Why isn't it being considered? That's all
Well,
I'm asking.
I would say that if we're going to use it or consider it, we should buy it. And I am not advocating, I don't know if you are, Pete, but
No.
I'm certainly not advocating for a $20 million override. So if you're advocating for an override, please say so.
Don't put
But
words
I'm not. I don't think
But
we should
again,
do an override for
why
this.
would we-
Reality is, we ought to be talking with them about whether that's something that we
And
want
we've
as a
had
town.
conversations, and
so
$20
why
million
don't you bring
is
that
the
to our
price.
attention and let us know what's been done? I'm not criticizing at this point, I'm asking,
Well-
what are the possibilities of using a piece of land like that?
So
If we had $20
unfortunately,
million
at the moment-
high.
At the moment, the reality is, we have two options
Right.
for land that we own. And that is Braun and that is Cassidy. And that's why we're discussing these two options.
Understood, but I'm
Yeah.
saying to you, we all understand we have those properties. The reality is, we have another property nearby that may or may not make any sense to us. But it seems to me that's something the town, not just you as the major representatives, but the town ought to be discussing and see if that makes sense for the seniors because of proximity.
I mean, it would be
I-
great. I like the idea.
It would be
I
the
think
best
the
use for the seniors.
location's great.
Yeah.
I think your argument's fantastic. We just don't have the property or the money to buy it.
It's my perfect job is being quarterback for the Patriots. I just don't have the skills to do it. It's like that property. It's the perfect location.
It's
It's the
great.
right spot. We just don't own it.
Listen, I would,
Yeah.
listen, nobody like me, I look at that property 10 hours a day. I would love to be able to play with that property and find something.
Yeah.
I've happened to have had conversations with the owner. I have many conversations with the owner. He's a lovely man. They want $20 million for it, and if they don't get it, they don't mind it staying as it is because it is completely occupied. All of those buildings are occupied. They're getting an incredible amount of income. Storage, they had the lettuce in there that they got rid of, but now they have it's occupied.
How about
Yeah.
the property behind that we know is contaminated? Even that.
That's not, we don't own it.
I understand that. All I'm saying is, at least I as a resident don't have any idea what's been done.
Okay.
I do know the proximity is great,
Yes.
if we could do it. The question is there a way to work something out, either with them, with help from representatives, from anyone?
I don't
that might be helpful?
understand how that helps us own it. Why don't you get everybody together and give me 20 million? I'll sell you the plaza. You can knock it down and we can put the housing.
I understand where you're coming from. Do you understand where I'm coming from? As a resident.
I'm trying really
As a
hard.
resident,
Yeah.
why not look at other options for how we
Well-
might use it? I don't know if there are any.
Well, I'm going to go to something different on this.
Yeah, go
You
ahead.
mentioned we're at 105%. Jim Duffy, get
103%.
ready. You mentioned we're at 105%.
103%.
103%. I don't want to misquote you. Were you here for Mr. Duffy's presentation?
I was, but I've also talked with Jim McKay, who has done the analysis, and he's the one who helped me get these figures so that I could have them.
Well, I think these are the numbers that when you were on the select board, you hung your hat on. After further study, we are at, Jim, and I paid attention, I swear to God I paid attention. Was it 80% with 85% or something if we reserve 10%?
So we are below.
Yeah,
Jim,
come
can
up
you
to the
come
mic,
up?
because this is an important point.
But is this
Because
with
everybody
respect to
says
what-
we're out of sewer
Jim, is
capacity.
this
Wait a
with
second, Pete.
respect to what has been connected or what's available for connection?
Both. Yeah, Pete, you're just wrong on this one. I'm sorry. This is a number that we've studied for years after you left the select board. So, Jim,
What we were given
yeah,
by
Yeah.
DPW.
right, and there's been new numbers given.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jim Duffy, I'm the
Yeah.
chair of the Enterprise Advisory Committee. So I should have calculated this number, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But with currently the 5% held by Charles River,
Right,
and then we take an 80% target of the remainder, which is the total minus the betterment.
right.
Minus, excuse me, it's the total minus 5%, minus the betterment reserve,
Yep.
leaves us a number, working
Yeah.
target rate. We then take 10% of that and slice it aside. And then we factor the flows that says, what are we actually using in terms of real water? And then the projects that are approved, we take the reserved capacity, which is the 110 gallons that we're
Yeah.
obligated to reserve. And we then take that off the books, and we're not at capacity. There's still 100 bedrooms that we could.
agrees with this.
I don't care what Charles River.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, that's what the numbers are
Yeah.
from the data that we are providing. So,
Charles River told us that the numbers we were using were correct. Now, it may be Charles River is not calculating appropriately. Ellen, you sit in on those meetings.
I absolutely do. Listen, I don't want to take up anybody's time with this. It is just a philosophical. Yes, you reserve 110, but once you go online, it's 55.
Yeah.
Remember, you cut it in half?
I understand.
Okay,
But
that's
I
the,
also know what Charles River
I understand. I,
does for
yeah,
their
But-
calculations.
I do.
And
Yeah.
that's based on how much we can connect.
Yes.
So you can argue it 5 ways from Sunday, but if Charles River does not
I don't
concur
think-
with that.
I really
then
don't.
you've got a problem.
Thank you.
Okay, so,
Where my name was mentioned, I will speak.
okay,
So what was happened, the paperwork that Mr. Duffy is working with, I was on that committee when you made the committee. You also eliminated what is out there for people that have the right to tie into sewer. That's a large amount. That's all the people on Orchard Street, that's all the people on, so none of those numbers are in that calculation.
correct.
But Charles River looks at it in a different way. They look at it in the way that I just explained it. So they use, and on paper, and when I talked to Pete, it was expressed, on paper, we are 103% with the construction that's on there. Those numbers that Mr. Duffy and the committee's using are your numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
That is not what the Charles River
I
look
know.
at. So,
I know, but they do look at it once you hook up. But let me ask you, Jim, you're counting the people that are on,
Orchard Street,
that the sewer's running by them.
by them.
That
have a
didn't
stub, that
pay a
have stub.
betterment,
It
but
did not
have
pay
a
a betterment.
stub, correct.
Right.
But didn't pay, okay.
Correct, and like I said, I have one in front of my house,
I got
and
it.
Jay will represent you when I'm told I can't tie into that sewer.
Yeah.
Your explanation to that was first come, first serve.
Yeah.
The people that paid the betterment and the
We
people
do.
that are approved absolutely have 100% right.
So we're
Those that got
devolving though.
lucky
We
and
are.
moved by.
It's
But
not-
so, I think the issue is we don't, the committee that exists doesn't believe we have an issue with it. The select board doesn't believe, and Charles River hasn't indicated a concern. So I don't think that's a legitimate issue to
So-
worry about.
So let me just circle back.
I'd like that at least as a response in writing from you and Charles River. Because I can tell you, when I brought this up to Charles River some years ago, they were adamant about the number. So that's why I'm concerned. Okay, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying this is what we were told.
So there was a lot to unpack there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that we can address every single thing
Listen,
that came
if-
up. Okay, all right, okay.
If you
To
can,
get the message out there, I
Can-
certainly didn't expect even this level at this point.
no,
Can
if you
em-
can email,
me? Yeah,
email
Yeah.
us
I
the,
will.
yes.
Yeah, email it to
Can
the
you
whole board.
email those questions so that we can make sure we do address them all? Because they were good
Yeah.
questions.
very good.
I just want to make sure we touch on them all. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
A little closer to the mic.
Okay,
At the podium.
yeah.
Hi. Hello, Susan Simpson, 52 Island Road, and about to the Cassidy Field. So just what just happened right now is a really, really good example of why we cannot just have a little informal meeting, 2 meetings now for the residents that are aware of it. Okay, so I'm just going to read, so I won't go off on a tangent like I did last time, but I would like to say that I am very disappointed in the Select Board's lack of transparency regarding the proposed transfer of Cassidy Field to the Millis Housing Authority. A wetlands delineation study was completed on May 24th. By June 10th, 2024, the Select Board had already discussed potential donation of Cassidy property. On October 17th, 2024, the Select Board Chair stated at a Council on Aging meeting that a 48-unit development on Cassidy was highly likely. Then at a March 12, 2025 Millis Housing Authority meeting, it was stated that the authority has been working with the town for approximately 2 years. 2 years. This clearly shows that the discussion has been ongoing for quite some time, yet residents have been meaningfully not informed or included. The only opportunity provided to residents was an informal Select Board meeting where questions were not fully answered and public comment was limited to 2 minutes. This is not adequate for a project of this magnitude. Residents deserve full transparency, proper notice, and real opportunity for input. I am requesting public hearings for all residents to be fully informed, to ask all the questions that we are asking and can't get answers to, that the zoning board be included, and that we have an opportunity to have real, meaningful feedback before any decisions are made.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else, yes? Sir, you can come up too. Come on up. Just
Cut down on travel time. Yeah.
Nicole Riley, 258 Village Street. I just have a question about a comment that was made. Ellen, you said that with regards to the property being managed and then that there was a right of first refusal. Can you just explain what you were referring to? Who has the right of first refusal, and is that for the land or the building management?
Well, the land,
Because it just really wasn't clear.
Okay. When I spoke with Candace, this is what she thinks would go into the RFP. Now, what does, I don't know. Millis Housing, if and when the select board deeds the property to Millis Housing, they're going to keep the property, keep the land. When they put the RFP out to a developer, they come in, they build, they do all the permitting, they do everything. They manage it, they collect the rents, typically for a period of 15 years. That's what it typical is, until they get paid back, right? Because they get all this grant money and state money and federal money and all these different pockets, and then they collect the rents, they pay all that debt back, and when they walk away and they're happy, Millis Housing has the right of first refusal to take over the management and the maintenance and the collection of rents. So they would step in to where the developer leaves off.
Sorry, I shouldn't have walked away. So if the Millis Housing does not accept, and this would be a question for Jay, if they don't accept the right of, if they don't exercise that right of first refusal, would this property now be, would the person running it, the company that has built it, would they have the ability to sell it on the open market as just regular, assuming I won the megabucks, could I go in and run it as an apartment building at fair market, or would it always have to remain at that 30% income?
Right.
So
So
that
the-
we're not
yeah,
15 years from now having,
No, it's a good question. So there's a few elements to it. So first of all, the affordability components of it are going to be perpetual in nature by
Okay.
recorded restrictions.
that was my main question.
So that's number one. So they could maybe sell it to another entity, but that other entity is going to have to manage those units as affordable units forever. Second, because they are going to be getting some relief from zoning, and there's some case law on this, that they couldn't just convert it to a non-40B project anyway, even if they could get rid of the affordability requirements, which they can't. Because once you get the only way you can get those waivers from zoning and other bylaws is to promise the affordable housing.
Okay.
So
That was my
it's
real question
essentially
was-
locked in forever. We don't know precisely what that agreement may state. That's all out there in front of us. We would probably seek some safeguards on our own. In addition to that, the affordability restrictions, which will run in the town's favor, we will additionally get some rights of first refusal as a town. So there's multiple layers of protection to make sure in all circumstances that the project is going to be managed by an entity that cares.
Okay, that was just what I wanted to see clarified, was that there is a deed restriction into perpetuity.
100%.
That at some point, 15, 20 years, I mean, I won't be around to care, but we don't want to make this investment and go through all of this to find out 20 years from now, when my kids are moving in, that it's now,
Yeah,
we're back in the same boat where we've lost all of this
In the
housing.
70s and 80s and even into the 90s, we were doing some affordable projects through 40B that had 15 or 20-year restrictions, and those fell off the books.
Right.
And then there was this tussle as to what happens. The state and the towns got smart on it and said, no restrictions anywhere. I've been doing 40B work for a long time. I haven't done a project in 20 years that hasn't had perpetual affordability throughout.
Great.
Non-waivable.
Thank you, Jay.
Jeff Howley, Village Street, abutting close to the Braun property. Obviously, there's a lot of people here that probably don't want the Cassidy project as well. Nobody wants it in their backyard. I'm mostly interested in, like the sewage, would it tie in on the Medway side? So if the road, Village Street, which is now an extension of 495, had to be ripped up, would everybody get hit with a betterment fee if the pipe goes in front of their house?
So, again, I think it's a little premature. If we ran new sewer line, if there was a new sewer line, a sewer extension that would cover more homes, there's always the possibility that a town could opt for a betterment. More likely, and when you have a developer that is developing a project like this and bringing sewer to a site, they're going to be taking care of the cost of that sewer extension and that infrastructure work. I know this answers one of Pete's questions as well. So the town is generally not, when it's a developer-driven process, the town is generally not on the hook for those expenses.
Yep.
We do betterments to pay for the expense, not for the right. We might charge people connection fees if we added sewer on a road that doesn't currently have it or improve it. Folks would have, along the road, would have the rights to connect if there was adequate capacity, but they probably wouldn't be charged a betterment because the cost in this kind of instance is going to be borne by the developer.
Yeah.
So if this is different than if we were doing a sewer just to serve in an area of town that needed sewer because of failing septics. We might charge a betterment because we have to pay for it somehow, or we might choose not to charge a betterment and spread that cost around all of the taxpayers.
Which is what they tried to do the last time. on
Which you
Village
can do.
Street.
Those are the
Yeah.
two ways to do it. To do sewer, here it's different because we'd probably be looking for whoever's going to develop this, whatever sewer infrastructure they need to bring sewer to that site is likely going to be their cost.
Could I follow up with one quick question? Jay or Mike? Glen Ellen, they paid for that sewer line or Jim, they paid for that sewer line themselves. That was not a town sewer line, even though it went past townhomes, correct?
That's
And
my
no betterment was
understanding. Yeah,
charged?
not on my watch,
yeah.
but, right.
No betterment was charged, okay. Right, a connection fee is different than a betterment, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, sir, you're next, and then, yep.
Just so I understand that,
Oh, sorry, can you name and address, please?
Shamron Khalsa, 151 Acorn. Just so I understand, the board is planning to propose this giving of the land, and it's really going to decide between Cassidy or Braun as to which one is going to be put to the vote at the town meeting. Is that right?
That's the idea,
Right.
yes.
And having listened to the recording of last meeting, it seemed like there was a strong push from a lot of Cassidy residents to protect their site. So I'm going to do a little, not in my backyard.
Okay.
So it seems pretty clear to me that Cassidy is a better site. It has sewer, it has sidewalks, it's closer to town center for people who don't have vehicles necessarily. The wetlands issue at the Braun property is much more extensive. There's an actual stream that goes down the center of the property. You have the Oak Grove walking trails that would make for a better living situation for folks and that would be residing in that area. So overall, if the idea is for people to remain independent and productive, it seems to me a no-brainer that Cassidy would be a better site. Now, would it be better to be even more in the center of town? Certainly. But this has a lot of things going for it. And one thing that wasn't mentioned last time, I think, is that the traffic problem on Village Street is really quite problematic. Living close to the Acorn and Village Street intersection, there are a lot of accidents there. The town tried to mitigate that with some flashing lights, so as you're driving towards Medway, you come up over a rise after you've already had a flashing light, and then, oh yeah, here's a cross street. It's a lot of people take that Village Street to get past 109, where we have so many traffic lights, and there's very little to slow the traffic on Village Street. So maybe this isn't a big increase in the traffic that's going to be on Village Street, but it's another one. And if it really is going to go that direction, we need to do something about the safety and old people walking along the road where there's no sidewalks and there's people going crazy trying to get home from work. It's a pretty dangerous scene. So overall, to me, the Cassidy site would be the one to go for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joyce.
I guess I'm playing devil's advocate.
Say your name and
Oh,
address,
so
please.
sorry. I figured everybody knows me by now. Joyce Boyardi, 206 Orchard Street. To address the person who is questioning about the 40B and letting people, there's a need, and I'm not pointing fingers.
Into the microphone, Joyce.
I'm not pointing fingers at you at any means. There is a definite need for people in this town to find affordable home. Yes, I'm a senior, and I'm fortunate that I do own my home and I can afford it. I'm not in a position yet where I have to sell it and wonder where I'm going to go. I happen to be on the board for the Council on Aging, and I talk to a lot of the people there. Their concerns are, where do I go? Where does my neighbor go? They have big homes now that they were able to afford years ago when they bought them because they were affordable. Now prices have gone up so much that they can't stay in their own homes and they've got to find somewhere else. I think it's only fair to look to see where we can place a property for this particular proposal, whether it be the Braun or Cassidy. Perhaps there's another property that we can look at. I have been questioned about Verdurber. I'm not even quite sure where Verdurber is, but it has been brought up to me about Verdurber, and if that would be a possibility.
I'm reading all about Verdurber. Verdurber is down Pleasant
Street.
Street. If you take a left and you pass
Primavera.
there's
It's
a
Pleasant Meadows.
Yeah, there's a sign, actually, the Conservation, I think, got money for a sign. There's a beautiful sign, and there's a path.
Yeah,
If
it's
anybody
restricted.
knows, it's conservation restricted, 100%.
Okay, so that's why it cannot be built.
Correct.
So these are the only large enough areas of land that we
That
have
are
in town?
unrestricted.
That are unrestricted. There's nowhere else in town
That we own.
that we own. Has there ever been any talk about eminent domain? I know that
No.
there has, but
No, I don't think there
We
has.
have not
We
discussed
have
not with you
discussed it.
folks, but I mean,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you're not.
So Jim McKay, 416 Village Street. I'm kind of surprised we didn't bring up at the Community Preservation meeting on March 19th, we voted, and it was not by unanimous vote. I think it was a 7-2 vote, which I voted against as a member, that at 1178 Main Street, affordable housing funding of $200,000 that the town is going to put at this town meeting, this May town meeting. I mean, it's almost the exact everything here. The thing that shocked me and why I voted against it was that at their first presentation, we were told that 70% of the units would be for Millis residents only, first right of refusal. And after the contractor went back to the state, they said they can only hold that for one time. So I think the gentleman earlier, the first question that was asked tonight, how are you sure that that's going to remain, because you can't. I mean, I don't think no one can ever make the predictions that these 48 units are going to go to the how many people were there, 90?
90,
No, there's 9,000 people applied for it.
94, I think,
94,
something like
yeah,
that.
94 people. So the 94 people, I mean, sounds like this project's going to go through. Whether there's no need for because it's being sold by a private developer to them, 1178
Yeah.
Main Street.
Yep.
And if the vote goes through at town meeting for the $200,000, they've met their threshold, and then the state will, and it's the same type of affordable housing. The only thing is, there's families. You're right, you're correct. There's families in
Well-
there, and it's based,
More money.
it's more rent-based. And it's a full, they will pay taxes on the full amount. They know that they're gonna pay the full water and sewer tie-in fees and everything else. They're not gonna come back and everything else. I just wanna hurry up, because that last time I was told to sit down. So,
You don't have, slow down.
so I think that we already have one of these projects in the pipeline for this May town meeting. The rush, and again, on the town website, you had a letter from the Housing Authority
we're getting-
asking for that to be, for this to be stalled. I think that should have been read maybe into the meeting minutes or something of that nature. I'm kind of surprised that none of you have brought that up
So
yet.
that is in the packet.
We're gonna
It
get
is in the
there,
packet.
Jim, we're
Yeah.
gonna get there.
But it should have been.
Yeah, we're
the
not there
First
yet.
and foremost, before you went through all of this.
Well,
No.
no.
Well, everyone
that's fine.
came here looking to speak,
Excuse me,
so.
excuse me, that's my opinion.
Okay.
And I think that if you all should speak one at a time, you browbeat one guy up here that was up here 5 minutes ago, with all three of you going after Mr. Jermaine. So calm down, and let's do it one at a time. Thank you.
Well, I would like to make a comment on that without browbeating, if I can try. There is a difference between the two projects. The one at 1178 Main Street there is a difference. Don't walk away saying no, there is a difference. 1178 Main Street is 16 to 20 units at 30% of your income. The remainder of the units are at a significantly reduced rate, but not that low. Secondly, and I don't know what the rule is at Millis Housing, but out of 9,000 people on the wait list, there were 10 openings last year. 8 of those 10 openings, either we have the luckiest people in the world if this is a lottery, because 8 of the 10 openings went to Millis residents. The other 2 went to people that were in homeless shelters. So it's homeless shelters and Millis residents, at least at Millis Housing. That's Metro West Housing, not Millis Housing. They have a different criteria from what I understand. So there is a significant difference. And I agree with you. The 1178 doesn't require, after the first year, that Millis gets priority, and I do understand that difference.
That was disappointing.
But and I was disappointed in that as well. But this project that we're talking about for Millis Housing is, in practice, 80% went to Millis residents. I don't
But
know if there's a
there's-
different
there's
law or
another-
bylaw.
There's another difference too. The Metro West one is anybody with the financial. Millis Housing is looking at seniors and non-senior disabled.
Correct. And at the first go, there's going to be 70% of those Millis residents that can't afford to stay in their homes and everything else will have that first right. And Craig, I agree with you.
To which,
but
to which, Metro West or Millis?
1178.
I agree, yeah.
And I agree with you. I did state after, it's based on income. There's a
Right.
certain, so I didn't say that it wasn't,
Yeah.
or it was going to be just like this here, because it's by no means. And I would encourage people to drive by the one in Medway that they operate. Again,
Yeah.
we
think-
have
do
this
you-
coming in May, and it probably will pass.
Do you like the one in Medway?
The building that was built there?
Yes.
I encourage people, yes.
Yeah.
Somebody
Very
told
well
me you,
maintained.
yeah.
Yeah,
Very well
and I just see these as two complementary projects. I don't think either one's bad or either one's better, yeah.
So I'm going to take you next, but if I could ask anybody else that would like to speak, can we just kind of line up behind Nate? That'd be great. Thank you. Okay, Nate, go for it.
Timsky, 431 Exchange. So just on the waiting list, from the first meeting to the second meeting, that number went up 2,000 people from my reference. So it was like 7, now it's 9. Anyway, there's a big discrepancy in that number. So the other thing about Cassidy is it's not zoned for multifamily. So the zoning would have to go in front of town meeting for a zoning change.
That's not, so under 40B, that can be waived. That's one of the prime features of Chapter 40B, that the underlying zoning restrictions in terms of by district are waived. So it doesn't have to go to town meeting for that waiver. That happens before the Zoning Board of Appeals.
All right. The other thing is, why are we giving this land away if we do it? Why don't we get, because taxpayer money went into purchasing, and we're not even paid off on Braun yet. That was $1 million, and Cassidy was $850 at the time in '98. So why aren't we getting recompense for any of this land? I mean, that's a big consideration.
Well, I'm looking at it a different way. I'm looking at it being recompensed by giving Millis residents and others a place to live. I mean, it was bought for use. I personally think that this is a terrific use, and that's the value. And not for nothing, it's a teeny tiny piece. It's like 4.5 acres of 47, I think, or 36, or.
And the rest is restricted for
Not all of it.
conservation, yep.
Not
The-
all of it, but
a big
but
portion
if
of it.
I listen to a lot of the abutters, mostly they're concerned about the wildlife and the beauty and.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's all right, you know, we all have valid points. Now you made me forget my last one. But anyway. yeah.
Yeah.
And once again, like Susan said, this is too much push through.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that you should take consideration from the Housing Authority and maybe table this to
Yeah.
the fall and get some real input on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Carol Baker. I'm going to read because I'm not a great public speaker, but I am a member of the Millis Housing Authority. I am in, I think, the middle of my second term on the Board of Commissioners. Obviously, I'm here in support of the project. Candace wanted to be here. She could not. I think she may have given me the pneumonia, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, we did start brainstorming quite a while ago about how to bring new housing for our seniors, for our non-elderly disabled population. Quite some time ago, we didn't really engage the board until more recently, but we wanted to create truly affordable and senior housing in Millis. As many of you know, with the new state initiatives, as a town, we're no longer, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because I think I have some of this right, no longer allowed to say no to private 40B projects if we're under the safe harbor, as long as the developer agrees to set aside a small percentage of the unit and designate them as affordable. As we've tried to outline, and what admittedly is very confusing, the definition of affordable looks very different depending on the project. Unlike many private developments where affordable is tied to a percentage of the area median income, which is very high, our model would fix the rent at 30% of a resident's actual income. This provides a much deeper level of affordability for seniors and others on fixed income. In addition, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but Massachusetts Chapter 40B allows developers to bypass certain local zoning bylaws if a town's housing stock, I did just say this, is less than the 10%, which we are today. By proactively developing a town-led project, Millis can maintain control by choosing the location, the scale, and the aesthetic of the building. I think our attorney outlined, I was going to talk a little bit about the process, but he outlined it way better than I could. And there would be meetings, there would be community engagement, just like there was with the school. We want to know what people want to see, you know, if we're going to do something. We want to encourage community support. All of the details will be worked out during the RFP process and during the permitting and planning stages with community input. Acknowledging what Jim said, we recently sent a letter to the board requesting that we hold the vote on this. I think we may have surprised them, that we hold the vote on this to the fall in order to be able to take community input and listen to residents' concerns over the coming months. We heard you and we respect you. Our request was not meant to create a division in the town. Hear us on that. We believe that this is something that is going to benefit everyone. We hear you, we respect you. But our goal remains unchanged, to figure out a way to take care of those in our community who can no longer afford to stay.
Hi, Cheryl Young, and I live on Richardson. Now I'm going to sound really heartless because I'm against the project, but I'm against the projects on either one of these pieces of property.
Oh, 4 inches.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't tell.
Don't follow it.
All right. I understand that we need public housing for people. And according to the plan that was done in 2019, I don't know if there's been an update to the Millis Housing Production Plan. There were quite a few sites outlined in this plan that were recommended to investigate housing. These two pieces of property were not in that plan, and the reason they weren't in the plan, I think, is because when you also look at the plan, you look at the resource maps, and these are environmentally sensitive areas. And it's not just wildlife, it's flood control. We're on a zone 2. This is important for our drinking water supply. And not to bring up GAF again, but I don't know why we're not going to some of these property owners, and some of them it seems like have abandoned the sites, they're not using them. There are Brownsfields programs in which we could get funding. I don't know why we are choosing greenfield sites when we have acres of brownfield sites in this town. And even if this project wasn't going on, it still benefits everybody in the town for us to be able to develop those sites, mixed-use property, low-income housing. I think that we need to have a more, I guess, creative approach to looking at other sites. I'm not sure where the Millis salvage yard is, but that was in your plan. The cement plant, 1400 Main Street.
Tresca.
BASF site on Dover Road. I think that, and GAF, back to GAF, it's a huge company. And I know from working in a big company that there are, they want good publicity. And we could ask them for a portion of the property. We don't need all of the acreage. And I'll help you if you want. There are plenty of towns that have done this and have been successful. And there's also federal money with the EPA. I don't know how that is right now, but I know that Massachusetts still has those kind of funds. And so I guess after all that, my question is, have you looked into that?
I don't know if I can stress this enough, but I'm going to try. I know that you can look at a piece of property and think that the property owner doesn't want it or will give it away and they're charitable, whatever. But yes, we are in talks with probably all the property owners. It's their, we don't own the property.
I understand
I would
that.
have.
I understand that.
I know you say you understand
do.
it, but okay. So these properties, they're, first of all, they're contaminated.
I
Now, I
understand
know you want to maybe get into helping them decontaminate it, but we have lawsuits against GAF that are paying off probably more than if we help them decontaminate it. And Ann and Hope is not, it's just not. And Tresca Brothers, I mean, I don't know why anybody would specify properties
I don't know, you did, it's
that
in the
we
plan.
don't own.
I know, but you
Well,
have
I'm
it in
working
your
on a new
plan.
plan with a new committee, and I'm gonna take those off, so.
Okay, but I'm not going to argue about it. But I have experience in this field, and I do know that companies, you have to approach them. Maybe they would say no. But the thing, we are going for the easiest, and I understand, we own the property in the town. But we also were told that when we bought that property, when I voted to buy the property, it was for open space. I understand that legally we can do it, but just because we can do something does not make it right. And if we investigated everything and explored things to the fullest, and that was the last resort, that's different than what's going on now.
I will just say, as far as the uses, I might be the only person in the room that was on a committee when both those properties were bought. I was on my first year we bought the Cassidy, and my last year we bought the Braun. So it brackets it nicely, doesn't it? But I remember making a point at both of those, because I spoke to both of them, that we were reserving a section of Cassidy for municipal use. At the time, we enumerated police, school, housing fits. At Braun, I cited exactly this project, a friendly 40B is what I called it. This doesn't get much friendlier than this. So neither of those were acquired for open space. That's a misnomer because I know they weren't. I was there saying it.
It was,
Yeah.
well, I do remember voting for it.
Yeah.
And it was really promoted as keeping it for open space.
Well, I talked a lot about friendly 40Bs on Braun. I don't know if you're referring to Cassidy,
no.
because Cassidy,
I don't remember.
I know we carved it up.
I don't
I actually spoke at Braun. It was the meeting that was outdoor because of COVID.
Yeah.
And I got up and spoke.
Okay.
And my envision for, first I said, they're not making any more of this land, so we gotta buy it. And I remember thinking at the time, we may do a packaged treatment plant and some kind of housing, or
Okay.
resell it.
And believe me, I'm not
Yeah.
not
No, no,
saying
I
that
know.
you
Yeah.
didn't do it, but I am saying that we should investigate other potential opportunities in the town before we build on green space. And I understand also that people need homes, and I'm not saying they don't. But look at all the people here. Their property values will be affected depending on where you build. They have concerns about flooding. So I just feel like a more comprehensive picture should be provided.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
And it may seem like that I don't appreciate you, but I do. And I do appreciate what you do for the town.
Thank
I
you.
just don't think
Thank
this
you.
is right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. They're all clapping for this board, by the way.
They're not.
Everyone.
Don't.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Paul Simpson, 52 Island Road. So I'll try not to rehash a couple of things, but just, and it really does seem, unfortunately, like this is almost like a Braun versus Cassidy type of situation. You know, residents from Braun are opposed to this, residents around Cassidy are opposed to this. I think to characterize some of the concerns of the Cassidy residents as water and wildlife it goes way beyond that. So I do have one specific question on the site selection. So I know several times, we've talked about some of the properties that Cassidy and Braun are the only ones. So what properties did the select board actually look at in their process? Which ones? How did they evaluate the sites? What were the decision criteria? That's never been made public anywhere. So that is something that should be addressed, I think, at some point.
We've evaluated all the properties that were buildable that the town owns, and there were two, Cassidy and Braun, Verderber Conservation, the one with the Yeti, and I can't remember the name. Dyer property, thank you. That's for a park. If kids get a tire swing and throw it over a tree, it's a park, but it's reserved for a future park. Can't do anything with it. Town fields can't be used. The thing at the end, Nate, the thing at the end
Dewey?
of Dewey property, that's conservation. None of those are available. There are but two properties, unless we can get $20 million to buy the Ann and Hope, or convince GAF to donate it, which they don't seem to have an interest in doing. We don't have property, and I deal in realities. The reality is we've been 60 years without building anything significant for people for housing. A lot of things have changed in 60 years. A lot of kids who went to school in this building 60 years ago can't afford to live in town anymore. A lot of them live in the housing authority. We need to do more. We need to do better, and that's what it came down to. That's why we're looking at it, and we could push it off another 50 years, not build it in anybody here's backyard, Braun or Cassidy. But there's going to be people that are going to be living in your backyard because they don't have a home. We've got homeless problems hitting this town. We've got people that are being driven out of this town. This was our attempt to try to make it better. And I wish that we owned the GAF property. I wish we could buy Ellen's property, tear down Roach Brothers and put something nice up. But none of that's going to happen. Those things aren't realities. I deal in realities. This is what we've got for reality.
I just think a lot of
Yeah.
your residents are saying, like, isn't there anything else that could be done to take a look at what's something that might be creative and might be out of the box? Anyway, I'll move on. Okay. Just as far as the available acreage, last select board meeting on the concept maps, there was 6.7 acres available at Braun and 3.5 at Cassidy. So it just seems like there's more available buildable land there to work with at Braun. So maybe at some point in the future, there's no guarantee that, like, the Millis Housing Authority is not going to come back and say, well, we need something, we need like 50 more units in like 5 years. So having a little bit more space available seems like that would be
Yeah, you think,
advantageous.
I thought that too. Two points. The Braun property is split by a river, so you have to pick a side. That's what, you're really only gonna get 3 acres on one side or 3 on the other. And, what was the last point you said?
I know, you got me.
Oh, keep going, I'll think of it.
So anyway, so it just seems like that would be better. To characterize, like, Cassie being a better fit because it would, like, look better than another property, to have like I don't know what it would be, 1 building, 2 buildings, 2 stories, 3 stories, a huge parking lot there, in what has been, up until now, open space, and is really almost like an institution for the town. It's a landmark. It's part of our character. There's a whole, it's not just like a little bit of wildlife, there's a whole ecosystem that is found there at Cassidy that it would, if it's disturbed or destroyed, it would just be a huge loss for the town. I did have actually a couple of questions, so to town council. I was actually the person who asked, I think, the question about, it was from Article 17 from the warrant that authorized the Cassidy purchase, and whether public housing was a municipal use, and you're saying that it is. Do you have an opinion of that in writing that is going to be made publicly available?
I don't have a written opinion on that. You heard my written opinion today. This is public record. It's pretty routine that when we accept an interest in land in the form of an affordable housing restriction, that's a public use. It's recognized that affordable housing is a public use, especially when we get rights to that affordable housing through a restriction. So I haven't been asked to write a written opinion. I don't think it's necessary. So, because I've already opined to the select board that it's a legitimate disposition of the property.
Okay. Back to the 6.7 and 3.5, is that the exact acreage that would be transferred to the Millis Housing Authority? In other words, would it be, it wouldn't be 18 acres being transferred for municipal use, and that 3.5 could be expanded beyond that?
Oh, I know what I was gonna say.
Okay.
Hold that one, Paul.
Okay.
The 45 units, when you said, well, maybe in 5 years they're gonna need more, well, it's been 65 since the last, so I don't think so. The 45 units is the sweet spot for a developer. That's where they can make money, get in and get out. So this 45 is well thought. They're not gonna come back in 5 years for another 45 or 5 to make it 50. And what was the last one? Oh, the acreage? No,
The acreage.
that was the piece that would support 45 units in different ways and the parking with it. So, no, it's not gonna be half of the parcel.
Okay. I think the last point that I just wanted to make is it always, it seemed, I know there's all sorts of safeguards to this process once the land is transferred, but I think it, yeah. I think that there's some lessons potentially to be learned from the Medfield Housing Authority experience with Rose Bay over in Medfield, because there were a lot of similar feelings among residents there that there was a lack of transparency in that process. And the Medfield Housing Authority, Medfield Select Board put a brake on it and got all of their questions answered, I believe, or many of their questions answered in the process before they went forward. Not like, let's work everything out once the land is transferred. So please take a page out of that, and because that's quite instructive. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to take these last 2 speakers. Sure. Thanks.
Abby Allen, 71 Island Road. So just 2, one's a question more so the scope of the project, RFP process. Another one is, Ellen, you made a comment about how we could just go to these businesses and ask them to donate, right? But as taxpayers, everybody paid for those pieces of land, so aren't you technically asking them the same thing?
Well, you said that we could go and ask JF just to donate their building, but they're not going to do that.
No.
And that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to go to town meeting and ask you to donate the land that we as a town bought. Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. You are the landlords, the owners of that land, and that's why we're going to town meeting. So you do have it right.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess how it came off was that, like, no one's ever gonna do that, but also, too, you have plenty of people here that are opposed to both locations, so they kind of seem like the same thing. I guess I just don't understand why one's weighed a little bit more. It
Well,
just came
because-
across as if,
Because
like,
there's, I'll be generous, 100 people in this room, and there are more than that in town. This is a sample that is unanimously against having it in their backyard. There's other people out there who aren't in this room right now, and that's who we need to hear from, who need it, who want it. And that's why we have a town meeting vote on it, to see which group is more in favor of it. If we listened to certain Facebook groups, the school was going to fail overwhelmingly. It passed with 75% of the vote. So what you have to look at is, yeah, this is a group that has a strong opinion. There's other people that aren't here that may have equally strong opinions in favor of it, and that's why we go to town meeting. We can't transfer it without a town meeting vote, and that is you as the owners transferring the land.
I mean, I guess the way I look at it is this is more of a community issue,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So there's people in our community, you know, there's been things that have come up over time, right? Like you're driving our seniors out with overrides. You're doing this, you're doing that. We don't want to drive anybody out of town, right? That's not the goal.
Right.
We want a great place to live for everybody. We want good services, and we want people to be able to stay here and live out their lives here, right? So with this type of a project, that's kind of the goal, is community, where they're looking for us to donate a portion of land to build this housing authority so that people would have the option to stay in town that have lived here their whole lives, as a sampling, as an example, right?
Yeah.
So that's what this whole thing is about, and we happen to own these two parcels, and
Sure.
these are the two parcels up for the discussion. If we owned something more downtown, would that make more sense? Absolutely.
So can I ask the question that if residents of both potential properties are against it, but now you're saying we go to a town meeting and people that might not necessarily be affected by it, right? You know, there are communities that are obviously more affected by it than others. I guess I find it hard to understand that.
That's how
You know what I
town
mean? Like,
meeting
there's
works.
just a group
That's
of
how a
people.
town works. I mean, there's
Yeah.
people like me who have no kids in the
You
school.
want 2 votes.
Yeah.
No, I don't want two
Or
votes.
5 votes.
I just want, like, exactly what I said last time, is that there's a significant impact.
Right.
And I don't
Yeah.
think everyone on the town understands how that impacts
Well-
everything,
But
right?
this is the same as Craig said when the school came up.
Yeah.
I don't have any kids in the school.
I don't either.
You
Yeah.
want to take away my vote because I don't have any kids in the school?
No,
and
I'm
give
not
the-
saying
No,
anything
no,
like that.
I
No,
know,
you're
I
not.
know.
She's just trying to give
But
an
then the person that has 5 kids should get 5 votes because they're impacted more? Everybody's vote is
Well, the
equal.
comment was that, maybe I misunderstood your comment, that the people that aren't affected by it because they aren't abutted by it.
That's not my comment at all.
Okay, then I
Yeah.
misunderstood. I thought that's where you were heading with
Really,
it.
all it just came down to was it just felt like a big corporation, we could ask them to donate the land, but in reality, like you said, the town voted to buy this land. So if you think of the town as a large corporation, you are essentially doing the same thing, right? We may get some benefits from this, right, which is more seniors have housing. But then you also have to look at what does that look like on the other side of this, right? So what benefits are we getting? What drawbacks are we getting? And I guess I just didn't appreciate it that we're looking at this as a big gift from a corporation versus a big gift from the town. I think it's important to remember that.
Yeah, I'll
I see what
play it
she's
to you
saying.
later.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
get it.
I'm sorry.
I get
The
it.
way you speak, I like everything about it. But I'm missing something.
That's okay.
I don't
We
get.
can agree to disagree.
I think she doesn't understand. is the
No,
problem.
I'm not following the corporation piece.
Well, so just the GAF or the Ann and Hope building, right? You said we
Okay.
could go them, get good publicity, they could go ahead and they could
Well,
donate
I
the
didn't
land.
say that. I think that doesn't make any sense at all, but somebody in the audience
I think you said it as like a hyperbole, like,
Oh,
we
that sounds
could
like
go
me.
do that.
That
Yeah.
is you.
That's me.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going.
Okay. My other question, we keep talking about applicants and we keep talking about the RFP process and we keep talking about how things will be developed later on in terms of the scope. Having done this as my job, working in contracting, working on RFPs and whatnot, I think there comes a point where you know what your requirements are, you know what your scope is, you know a good amount of the technical pieces of the project before you go out and you issue an RFP. But I guess my question is, when we're talking about potential applicants, like, how does that process work where they're gonna give their insights, or they're gonna give their impacts, or they're gonna do something like that, whereas it essentially seems like they're shaping the scope of the project? No? No, I'm
No, the Millis
genuinely
Housing
curious.
Authority is, the Millis Housing Authority is the one that shapes the scope, and produces the RFP with input from the town. Those people live in town. Millis Housing Authority is not some state entity.
No, I don't believe
It's-
that it
yeah,
is. I was
yeah,
just
yeah.
curious, is it done independently?
It's done with community input, yeah.
Right, so what I mean is like, is it done with people, like subject matter experts within those fields to develop the scope? Or is it just people that are working for it?
I don't know, we'll have to figure, I think, I would believe that the housing authority, the state housing authority has people that are experts in how to do it, and then our local residents, 3 in this room, work with others in this community to design it to fit Millis. But whether we need to say, all right, make sure you put in something about sewer, that's going, well, we're thinking of that one, but there's gonna be something we don't think of. And that's where the experts who develop housing every day of the week, and I don't know which company you work for developing housing and issuing RSPs, but there's
Well, I
people
work for
that-
the federal government.
Okay, there's
so.
people that do this for a living for the state
Yeah.
government who do assist you doing it.
Sure, no,
Yeah,
I was just
yeah,
curious how independent it is, right? When you get too many people that have vested interest, then you just wanna make sure it's transparent, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's something that maybe in the back of your minds, this would be a good thing for one of the forums
Yeah.
that housing's
Yeah,
gonna
so
have.
we
But
could
thank
review
you,
that.
sorry.
Sure, yeah, no worries. Hello.
Chris Maltinsky, 431 Exchange. I have 2 questions.
Yes.
Ellen, you said 45 is a sweet spot. What if we, as a town, don't want a 3-story building in a residential neighborhood in an area like Cassidy? What if we were to do a 2 or a 1? Is there enough land there for 45 units and parking spaces without going 3 stories high?
Yes.
And will that be taken into consideration as a scope if we don't want a 3-story in our
I
backyard?
don't believe a 3-story was ever considered, right? We're talking about a 1 or a 1.5, correct? Maybe? This is all,
I know, well, so, but my point is.
Yes, there is
sort of
an-
like what everybody's saying about, we're putting like, sort of Nate's comment about the cart before the horse, where he said the horse before the cart.
Yeah.
So that was one concern, and I wanted just to make, clarify it, because ultimately it sounds like, I'm just gonna say it, that you guys are picking Cassidy, and because of the sidewalks and everything else, but for us, you have to remember, you are depreciating the value of our properties, one, right, which is, okay, real fair, but. Oh,
I'm not-
come
I'm
on,
not
seriously.
certain.
And then to put up a
No,
big
not
building in a field near our house, so.
Stop talking.
I'm not gonna agree with that, Chris, I'm really not.
All right, well, that's.
But okay.
So that's a concern, obviously, as a homeowner who's lived here for a long time. Well, I mean, not as long as some other people, but 25 years is pretty long. Actually, longer, because we did rent before we bought. However, the other question I have is at town meeting, there's been some questions about how this vote will go. Is it going to entail a 2/3 vote, or is it a majority vote that's necessary?
Simple majority vote because it's for affordable housing.
Okay.
And that was a change the state put in. We were under the
Yeah,
impression
we
the
had
state
thought most land transfers require a 2/3 vote, so we were
Yeah.
incorrect at the last meeting, so that's why we've asked town council to come
Yeah,
in. to
that's why we
make
brought
sure.
Jay.
Okay.
And there's a carve-out for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Hi, Carol Baker again. I just want to clarify, Medfield owned their own land. The Housing Authority already owned their own land. So the issues they had were, nobody wanted it in their backyard. And that's why they put the brakes on. But they ultimately are getting there. They haven't started construction yet. But it's a different process. Medfield owned their own land. It was not a land transfer. So I just want to clarify that.
Oh, okay, the
And
housing
Madam
authority.
Chair,
owned it, yeah.
while Carol is up there, are you still having your meeting on Wednesday?
At the library?
Yes.
Yes. This
Yes, so just
Wednesday.
a reminder to people that you could all do this again on Wednesday,
Yep.
right, and ask questions?
Yep, Wednesday at
Okay.
the library, 6 PM. And a representative from the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission will be there with us.
So I just want to encourage everyone
Good.
here to attend that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, that's good.
Scott Fusey, 411 Unit. I just want to thank the board, town council for coming in, and everybody who spoke tonight. Everybody who spoke tonight, I want to thank them and thank town council and the board. Everybody's opinion is important, and we hear it loud and clear. So both sites, whatever's decided, all the issues will be worked out. They have to be worked out. So thank you to everybody in this room tonight. I like to see it full. Everybody's opinion matters, so thank you.
Thank you. All right, so at this point, we're going to deliberate a little bit.
Yeah.
What you got?
Well, yeah, that's a lead in,
Ellen.
huh? All right, what I got is something I wrote this afternoon, so I want to be clear, okay? I want to thank everybody for your feedback. It's always uncomfortable but good to have these meetings. I do enjoy them. I think it's worth having. I think it's worth getting respectful feedback. First of all, I'm going to go on record. I'm 100% committed to affordable housing in Millis. It's been 60 years since we built it, and for all the reasons I've given, and for all the people that my wife and her sister who grew up in this town who've lived here, well, she's only 27, somehow she's lived here for a long time, but 63 years here. So those people need this housing, and we need to build more of it. It's getting more unaffordable. In one breath, we try to, we get criticized for raising taxes to build schools and driving seniors out. In the next breath, when we try to build housing for them or reduce taxes, we get criticized because we're giving seniors a special deal. So right now, I'm 100% committed to doing affordable housing. However, based on what I heard tonight, we know a lot more than we did 2 weeks ago. It's clear there's protections that can be put in place through an RFP process. As you enter into the purchase and sale agreement, you don't deed the land over the day after town meeting. You wait until the project's developed. So there's a lot more information that we're going to learn as we go. And these issues about sewer, wet, all of those things will be addressed. And if they can't be addressed, the developer won't build and the land just comes back to the town. That's just the way it'll have to work, and that's the way it does work. However, since the Millis Housing Authority requested that we not put this on the May town meeting, and I do agree that more conversation is going to be needed, I think we need to honor their request as much as I think we need the land, and I think we needed the land transfer or a building built 30 years ago, not 3 years from now or 2 years from now, but I think we need it as soon as possible. I think that if they had not requested the delay, quite honestly, based on the attitudes I'm hearing and the concerns people are voicing and the legitimate questions that are coming up, it would make sense to table it even if they hadn't requested it. So I think we need to table it at least until November, but let's be clear about this. This serves as notice for people who said they didn't hear anything about this. At least in 8 months, this is going to be coming back up. So it's not gone, this isn't beaten, this isn't defeated, this isn't oh, I didn't know it was happening. 8 months from now, after hopefully so many public meetings, there's 3 people in the audience after the last one, you know, that have all the questions have been answered, all the comments have been made, then we moved to November town meeting at the earliest. It's going to be one of these 2 properties, honestly. I mean, I work for a nonprofit. People don't give you land. They don't give you things. We've asked. We've always tried. We always try to get it. People think it's easy. It's not. And unless there's a desire to purchase a large piece of property and raise everybody's taxes and then donate it, which I know there isn't, these are the 2 properties we have. So it's going to come down to one of these 2 pieces of property or no additional public housing. And that's going to be the choice that the town faces in November or at some future date. We'll see how things play out. But yeah, and we have looked and we will continue to look to see if JF in their heart of hearts wants to give us the property, but I know they don't. We've had conversations before. It's not that we sit up here waiting for something to pop up and then just move on it. It's, we go after these things, and we've been going after this for the last several years. We've been talking about housing. It's not new to us, and that's what threw me a little bit, because we've been talking about it for years. It's new to all of you because
Nobody watches our meetings.
I didn't want to say that, but people don't watch our meetings. People don't read and I wish to God we had a newspaper, because we publish the warrant on Facebook typically the Friday before the meeting. Paul Sims texts me and asks if Cassidy's going to be on it. I tell him when it is. I tell him when it isn't. So there's at least one of you that reads it, so thank you. But the rest of you, it's out there. We put it on Millis Public Forum because it's the closest thing we've got to a newspaper. So look at the agendas. There'll be other housing agendas, but I'm hoping that we agree to take it off and push it to November.
What do you got?
What do I got?
You got anything?
Because he said everything.
He did.
That's how I
But-
wrote it.
I agree. People don't look at our agendas, and you don't come to our meetings. But we've been talking about this for over 2 years. And there's a few of you in this room that I've been talking to for over a year. But I like the more the better.
Yep.
2 weeks ago, when this room was full, I loved it. All your comments, I loved them, because you said what you felt, and now it's in the room, and we can all deal with it and figure it out and how to move forward. And if it takes another 6 months, I don't care. I want enough interaction and whatever, every question answered, every T crossed, every I dotted. I really don't care, because if it took you this long to come to it, I'm good with it. But I will say this about that. This housing, we should go to Medway and look at the job they did, because it's gorgeous. That's number one. Number two, these people that are going to be living there, these people are our neighbors, our family. These people, I grew up with these people, a lot of you grew up with these people, and if you didn't, they've been here longer than you. So when you look around and say, you know, I don't want this here, these are our people, our family, our neighbors, and if you want to learn more about them, go down to Millis Housing. They have meetings and parties, and it's fantastic. It's a community, and it's 65 years old, and I'm hopeful that we can create a little bit more, double our inventory, and give them the homes that they need. That's all.
Thank you, Ellen. So thank you both, Craig and Ellen, and thank you all for coming tonight, and for all of you for speaking. I want to echo some of what, well, I like what everyone said, but specifically what Craig said. You know, I do understand that we might have been talking about this, but it does seem rushed to those who have not been following along. And okay. So, given that, we understand the desire for us to slow down with this, and given that the Housing Authority has also requested that we delay this until at least November, I think at this point, the next thing that we need to do tonight is to continue on with our agenda for the warrant. So what I'd like to do is move that we remove Article 12 from the agenda. Article 12 is the article that would designate the land transfer. So at this time, I'd like to move to remove Article 12, which is the transfer of land for affordable housing, and we will revisit that in November.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. So that means that it will not be on the May town meeting warrant. It will most likely be on the November town meeting warrant. So at this point, we've had a couple meetings here. I know that the Millis Housing Authority is having some meetings coming up very soon.
What's the next one?
Wednesday.
The next 2 Wednesdays at 6 o'clock?
This coming Wednesday at 6 o'clock at the library, and then Wednesday the 15th at 10 a.m. at the Housing Authority?
Yeah.
At the Housing Authority. Okay, so those, what? And where's the Housing Authority?
Where's the Housing Authority?
The current Housing Authority?
Joyce? All right.
We're getting you the exact address if you would like to go.
Hold on.
10 Exchange Street.
10 Exchange
310.
Street.
310.
310 Exchange.
310 Exchange Street.
On record, 310 Exchange Street, Wednesday, April 15th at 10 a.m.
For all of you who have never visited the Housing Authority, please, go to the Housing Authority.
So this gives us plenty of time. The Housing Authority will have a couple of their open houses and forums this
And
month.
they usually have snacks.
There'll be more time for discussion upcoming throughout the summer, I'm sure, into the early fall, prior to this being on the fall town meeting warrant. But at this time, it will not be on May. However, I would still really like to see everybody in this room go to town meeting in May, if you could, please, because it's still important, even though this won't be on it.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to add one quick thing. Ellen said go visit the Housing Authority at 310 Exchange Street. I completely agree. I have been there before. I have worked here a long time now. I'm coming up on 18 years being here. I have never once gotten a complaint about the Millis Housing Authority from any of their current neighbors. They are very good neighbors, so I just want to let you all know that. Thank you.
Okay. So at this point, we should continue on with the warrant and finish that. And then we have some more business with our town council. Yeah, that's okay. We'll take a 2-minute recess. 2-minute recess.
Sorry, I had to add that. It's the truth. Never gotten a complaint. We're right in the middle of a neighborhood. Never one. Sorry. Make it. Yes, website, the town website, on the calendar. They're all listed on the town calendar. All right, moving on.
Thank you, everybody. We are back from our recess, so we will be picking up and continuing on with our agenda.
I would like
we
to
are-
instruct the audience to behave in a civil manner for the budget review. Got it, Jody?
Down to one.
You still have the warrant open if you want to
Yeah.
continue.
Yes.
with
Yes,
that.
we're going to finish that.
I've got one quick question about the warrant, since we still have it open. How much, do we have a number we're setting aside for Tri-County?
We'll get to that.
Okay, I didn't want to jump ahead, but it was, yeah. I did,
Do you
All
have
right.
this?
Sorry, I did.
Does Craig have this?
Do you have this? Yeah.
I don't know, do I have? Oh, there it is, thank you. Well, it wasn't
All
a good
right.
start.
All right, so,
So,
Madam Chair, if you'd
yes,
like, I can
go
kind
ahead.
of run through. So you did just vote to remove Article 12.
Yes.
I'm recommending that the board vote to remove the original Article 1, unpaid bills, due
Okay.
to a lack of any unpaid bills,
Okay,
which is a good thing.
Yes.
are we going to just vote
Is
to
that the
accept
first time
it?
ever,
I mean, you could,
Changes?
this is the only other removal, and then the rest I will make a list of
So we're
asking you
doing
to
these.
accept a
Remove
number of
first time
articles.
ever.
One
Yeah.
and replacing it.
That I can
adding
remember.
Article
No
9,
unpaid bills.
Yeah. Okay,
19,
Yeah.
20. Yeah, okay.
So, let me
Right.
just kind of make the recommendation, and you can so move it if you like.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, I'm recommending that the board vote to remove unpaid bills from the warrant.
second, I move, I move that.
Okay.
I'm reading ahead.
Ellen,
What?
do you second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
I
So
was trying to find the Tri-County number.
I am going to be now requesting that the board add 3 articles. The first article being a new Article 9, or actually, I should say,
I wouldn't put the numbers.
the first article being a transfer from the general budget of $70,000 from the operating budget of Article 3 of the May 5th, 2025 town meeting back to the ambulance revolving fund, since those funds were not needed.
So moved. Yeah, I was waiting for him to do all of them, I thought.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next article is a new Article 9, which is for, to authorize the borrowing for the water meter replacement project that was identified in the capital article number 8. This is a borrowing authorization requiring a 2/3 vote.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is a new Article 19. This article would appropriate the sum of $1,168,158.69, being the full balance of the funds available in the PFAS settlement funds for the purpose of funding the PFAS remediation capital projects.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. And just one last article, new Article 20, a vote to rescind borrowing authorization previously approved in the amount of $206,021 for the DeAngelis Well Project, wells number 1 and 2.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. And just, those are the only formal changes I'm asking this evening. I'm not predicting any additional articles will be needed, or I believe all the articles that are currently in there will be needed. There are 2 articles we still need additional language for. Article 16, which is the pilot agreement for 1073 Main Street. In discussion, that's being reviewed by Town Council and our assessing office, so I should have the language for that within a few days. The other article that's not completed is Article 18. That's the amended zoning bylaw for battery storage systems and data storage systems. That involves a zoning change, which is being heard by the planning board at their hearing tomorrow evening, I believe.
Okay.
So we'll have that later this week.
And then when do we vote to, when do we sign?
You'll be voting to approve the final warrant and to sign the warrant at your meeting next Monday.
Next week. Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Any questions on the warrant as it stands?
Next
No.
week's meeting at 7 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay. then I'm fine with it.
Unless we talk about housing again.
We're
Yeah.
not talking about housing
not.
again at the next meeting.
Okay.
We do.
Craig, you've been waiting for this tri-board meeting.
You have.
I'm not
So you
sure
can-
that I want to go
Vote to
anymore.
close.
You can vote to close the
Vote to
warrant.
Yeah, I
Close the
make a
warrant,
motion
Craig.
to close the warrant.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. And you only have one item left on
No,
your...
we have two.
You forgot the
We need-
springing regulatory
We have
springing.
agreement that
Jay,
Jay
see,
is
they're
here for.
patient.
This is the main act for Jay.
Yes.
Yeah, Jay,
Hi,
this is
Jay.
why we really brought you.
1040, 1060.
We're
It's,
gonna-
it's
you
to
can
allow,
We're gonna
it's to
find
allow affordable housing to remain in perpetuity, correct, for some of those
Yeah,
apartments?
so-
Sort of.
There's a few elements to this. So 1060 Main Street, which we all know, is a 40B project. And there are a certain number of requirements within the comprehensive permit. And what was interesting is when I saw the building going up, just starting being constructed, this goes back a ways. I asked the then building commissioner, not our current building commissioner, like, did they really get their state approvals yet? Because they really shouldn't be starting unless they did. And he said it was all set, which didn't seem right to me. But
The springing,
Is this the one on Pleasant?
Bada
no, this
bings.
is Bada Bings.
Yeah.
1060.
Quarter Pleasant.
So
can I ask
I mean,
one
Pleasant
clarifying
Line.
question? What does local springing regulatory
So
agreement?
I'm getting there.
I'm sorry.
Stay with me. So
Let him get there.
it was too fast. It takes a while for the state to review it. In any event, fine, they went along, and people seemed okay with the building, but then they came in for occupancy permits, and the new building commissioner, as well as the zoning board chair, said, there's some things missing here. One of the things that was missing was what we call a regulatory agreement, which is, for rental projects, also serves as the deed restriction. And those are absolute requirements, and I get to review them per the comprehensive permit, and I'd review them anyway. And it was lacking in a few areas, one of which was the fact that it was of limited duration. And that regulatory agreement, which was by Mass Housing, they say they've changed their policy. They used to do perpetual regulatory agreements. And to me, that was important that it was only for 15 years because the way it was written was that the affordable housing would only be for 15 years. So I succeeded in getting them to agree that the affordability restriction would be 15 years. But after 15 years, all of the state monitoring under the regulatory agreement would lapse. We would still have the restriction, which was good, but there'd be no monitoring of the project. So what they said is, well, if you want, you could do what is known as a springing regulatory agreement. You sign it now, and it becomes effective in 15 years when the other regulatory agreement terminates. So I said, well, this is new policy, and they go, well, that's our policy. So I said, well, here's what the new one has to say, because it's just gonna be us, no state agency, and I'm gonna be pretty strict about it. And they said, well, we don't like what you're putting in it. And I'm like, well, we want perpetuity on all the affordability, we want perpetuity on the monitoring of their dividend, because they can only make so much profit. We want perpetuity on being able to monitor tenant selection, to make sure they're choosing people that are worthy of it. And they balked, and I wouldn't budge. So finally, they agreed. And I said, well, we now need the state approval for it to be perpetual, because that's what the statute requires, and that took some time. Finally, we got all those approvals lined up. It's the form I want. You have to sign it. So this is to get your approval on it and to get it executed. So at the 15-year point, we can choose a monitoring agent, an affordable housing entity that will monitor the affordability at the expense of the then owner of the project. So it's not like we're going to be monitoring it, so we would probably be choosing a local nonprofit to do the affordability
Maybe
monitoring.
Millis Housing.
Could be, potentially. That's not
Yeah.
always what they
Yeah,
do,
yeah.
but that's what it would be. But I wanted to make sure that we were protected in perpetuity on all four corners of this, and this document does it. It's really a shame to me that the state is abandoning these projects after
Yeah.
15 years. They say, oh, no, this is all part of the plan, and I said, bullshit, I've been doing these 40B projects for 30 years, and this is not what you do. So in any event, the document's in decent form, so I just need a vote for you all to approve it, and then it can be signed. It will get recorded.
So see, that's exactly what I said.
What?
When I said what I was saying it earlier.
Where does it go?
No, I'm joking. I
Oh.
said, Jay, forget it.
It just seems like
One of us has a shot or
It's not an onus, it's actually, I'd view it as an opportunity because the state is not a great watchdog.
Yeah.
Well, the EOHLC is a decent watchdog, Mass Housing is not.
Right.
They want to provide their subsidy, which isn't really much of a subsidy at all, and then get out. We'll never see them again. So this actually returns an opportunity to the town to keep an eye on what's going on there. It's not much work, but there will be an entity that, for rental projects, when a unit goes either over income, an affordable unit goes either over income or becomes vacant, there's a process to get someone else in there. And it's important that that process is applied fairly and appropriately. So it gives us an opportunity to make sure that this project's done the right way.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? No, well, yes, you should have read the packet.
Yeah.
We have hats.
No, she'll just like.
We have hats.
Yeah, she'll
Let's
just
say I read the
say,
packet.
like, Jay, come over to the office and explain this to me, and then I will.
You had all
and it's
weekend to
fine.
read this, Ellen.
And I did, but I didn't know what a Springer.
A springing agreement.
Springing regulatory agreement.
Springing.
Does that mean it bounces, or is it named after
Yes.
Mr. Springing?
There's a motion.
Yes, what I thought, okay. I'm making the motion, I'm trying to learn something here. I move that the board approve the local springing regulatory agreement between the town of Millis and 1060 Main Street Realty LLC as written, and to authorize the town administrator to sign on behalf of the town.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Do we have authorization for Mr. McKay to have keys?
He locked himself out. Yeah, he's gone.
I am so pleased we've taken them away at one point, because that doesn't always happen when an employee leaves.
All right, so Jay, I think are you off the hook?
I think we're all set for Jay. If we have any budget meetings for him later, we'll let him know.
I'm gonna get a final version of the warrant, right?
Yes, you'll
Yes.
get, well, the final version won't be till,
Next
well,
week?
you'll get an updated
Yeah,
draft
yeah.
tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so, let's see.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
So the moment that our finance director has been waiting 2 hours and 45 minutes for.
I'm so sorry.
What else did you have to do?
Anything, oh, Jesus.
So
I know, 10 of 10.
Jody just handed out to you a summary document, which I think outlines where we are currently with the budget process. We do have what I would say is a balanced budget. Jody has done a tremendous amount of work on this, and I thank her tremendously. So I thought it would best for Jody to go through it with the board, and I will jump in where needed.
Okay, good stuff. All right, so in front of you, you have a couple of documents. They're all meant to be pretty high level, 100,000-foot views of the budget, just to get your arms around what we're looking at big picture for the budget. We'll certainly have the next several days and weeks to drill down to some of the finer details. To start us off, we'll look at our budget summary. We're proposing an operating budget this year of just over $48 million. On the town side and the school side, we're looking at a 3.5% increase over FY26. And the non-discretionary items, that budget has gone up to about 14 million. So all of those three components together make our $48 million budget. A couple of the drivers that we're facing this year, we had working in our favor that the Tri-County assessment has gone down. We went from 45 students enrolled on October 1st of 2025 to 39 students being enrolled as of October 1st of 24 to 25. So this is the latest enrollment number. That decreased our assessment as well as our obligation for our debt in that by about $148,000. Also in our favor, we had just about a 1% increase in our general insurance premiums, which make up a good chunk of our budget as well. We had a decrease in long-term debt and interest payments of about $200,000. We had manageable increases to our employee benefits, a lot of that with people moving to the retirement platform as opposed to our active health insurance, which is a savings there. We absorbed a lot of the cost last year when we had double-digit increases to health insurance premiums. So that was able to be maintained a bit going into this budget year. Focusing on our revenues, obviously some trends in new growth is going down. So we sort of hit our new growth peak around 2022, sort of capturing all of that new growth with multiple of the housing projects and things that were done during that time. So we're sort of at the tail end of the bell curve as it relates to new growth. So we're still keeping very focused on that, working both with our assessor's office as well as the building department to really see what's in the pipeline for projects. So we'll be considering that as part of our revenue picture for this year. Obviously, we know we have limited amounts of new revenue sources to the town. We're pretty limited when it comes to that. We have a net flat state aid funding. We had more money on the gross side, but our assessments went up, so we're pretty flat in that regard. One thing that we have done is taken measures to, look at all of our available funds across budgets, whether we have special revenue accounts that haven't been, used in the past, or maybe they've sort of, the legacy of what has been left has sort of outdone, the time and original intention. So we're kind of reviewing those things and saying, okay, well, does this money still belong parked over here? Or can we use that as a revenue source? So we've gone through a good exercise there to really uncover any possible revenues to fund our budget.
What was new growth? I didn't get a number there.
So right now, we're projecting new growth for $350,000. Last year, we projected $600,000 and came in about $92,000 short. So we were just over $508,000 for new growth last year.
Yeah, you're not going to get an argument from me, but this
Right.
is back to Finance Committee days for me.
Yeah, and honestly, new growth this year, even in talking with our assessor, documented growth, things that we know of right now for next year, is about $178,000 in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So, again, we're predicting this far out. That's what we know about. Certainly other things can come up. But I'm just not comfortable moving the mark too far off of that at this point.
No, I agree with you.
So yes, so that's kind of that. And I'll get you a more detailed revenue picture as well to kind of look through all the funding sources. We'll take some time to explain it to the general public, where our revenues come from. But again, 100,000 feet to kind of kick us off here. On the expenditure side, we had instructed a lot of the department heads that we are pursuing level services for our budgets this year. Obviously, they can ask for whatever they think they need for their departments, and then our town administrator and I sit and kind of cull through all those requests. But we were able to provide, in most cases, level service budgets, and in some cases, we found savings. And in other cases, we were able to provide more. So again, a good prudent review of that. We did have the challenge of incorporating about $300,000 of previously funded services that were funded through HCA funds. So trying to figure that out this year. In addition, we had about $477,000 in above level service, which actually is a little bit more than that because I just learned about Jim McKay's FTE request. So it's about $550,000 or so would have been above level service asks across the town. So again, we had to get just really, really diligent, rolling up our sleeves and looking at things both from a revenue and expenditure standpoint. The things that I listed next are things that we rolled into the budget that were previously funded through HCA funds. You'll notice on the administration side, we were able to preserve the social worker that I know adds a tremendous amount of value to both the school and the police department. The library, we were able to partially fund the extension of hours that they had previously received on nights and weekends. With regards to police, we were able to retain the school resource officer as well as some of the marijuana training and all of the stipends. You'll notice that in the little footnote on that is that we had $104,083.91 in HCA funds that were remaining in free cash as certified last year. And that is the absolute last appropriation of marijuana funds. The one thing I do want to make note of is, you know, that $121,000 or so in this SRO salary will have to be a consideration for next year's budget as an above-level service request in its entirety. So we'll need to think about that. Recreation, again, there's an inclusive camp, the Get Out and Play program. We were able to fund that, you know, the staffing as well as supplies and equipment associated with that. That request was down from the previous year, and I think we can cover it for about $15,000. And the idea of that camp is that it's pretty self-funded. And then the school was able to roll in and retain an SEL para into their budget. The last part of it, so we had, like I said, about, you know, $700,000 in, $477,000, about $550 with Jim's request in above-level service, which included staffing. You'll notice the reference to that is in the second page of your handouts, which is just, again, a summary of all the above-level service requests. What we were able to accommodate, and based on the direction of the board as well as our town administrator, we were able to secure a lieutenant promotion and a sum of funds to go towards that, and a full-time police officer.
Is that
above and beyond the SRO.
okay?
I know, right?
So conservation, we were able to secure some conservation hours, and we were able to reinstate the Council on Aging's transportation and driver wages that was sort of shuffled a little bit last year in the budget.
They utilized some grant funds last year towards it, but they don't have those funds this year, so we're just basically backfilling that fund
Right.
so they can maintain services as usual. So the really only additions in the, for the real above-level service requests are the police lieutenant promotion and one full-time officer, as well as really just 4 hours a week for a conservation agent. So that's really the only new positions on the municipal side.
What is not included in the budget that was asked for was IT administration had asked for cloud services at the cost of about $24,000. Police had asked for 2 FTEs. We were able to provide 1 and a little in a promotion. Fire had asked for some on-call wages. We did speak with the fire chief about, you know, seeing what we could do to try to accommodate and look at some of that, the opportunity to fund that potentially in the fall.
Yeah, I think it's worth looking at as far as his different proposals to be able to better staff that. We couldn't fund a full year, but as part of our longer-term financial planning, it's something we should look at over the summer to kind of plan out to help the fire department, because they're a bit stressed on their on-call operation, just because the number of calls have been escalating.
So that sort of handles, again, the snapshot of what's included in the budget, what wasn't able to be included, and sort of where we are with funding both the town and the school at a 3.5% increase of their base funding over last year. Again, some reference documents just to have, you know, when you're reading this over the weekend with your other things, Ellen. The above-level service requests, right? You're going to see capital requests on here. Again, that's just an executive summary of all the capital that was requested. In the final page, Craig, I left the best for last for you, was our free cash recommended allocations. So you'll see unpaid bills was removed. We started Article 3. This is the final appropriation of the HCA funds, which ties directly towards the funding of the SRO and the stipends. You'll see capital items is directly correlated to, basically everything that was on the capital request list. Certainly these things can be, edited as needed between now and town meeting, but it's just an allocation of funds if this were all to move forward. Tri-county debt, we strategically placed 2 to 3, maybe 4 years, depending upon our assessment. I'd say more like 2.5 to 3 years of funding. We've only had the debt assessment for 2 years, but we were not around, 343,075 the first year, and we were at like 286 and change this year. So I estimate anywhere between, 3 and 350. But go ahead, Craig.
I think this is one of the commitments that we as a board made to try to fund Tri-County for as long as possible without doing any talk of an override. And this pushes us out at least 2.5, probably 3 years on that situation, which, so this just funds that. We had them, that's
Which takes the
phenomenal.
stress off the taxpayer for
It's
those
phenomenal.
3
This is
years.
exactly what we were trying to do. We can't say that in perpetuity, we can fund Tri-County without an override.
Right.
But we can pretty clearly say for the next 3 years, well, this year, is it this year and then 3 more, or is it
Yes, it would be the FY '27, 8, and 9.
27, 8, and
Yep.
9? So the next 3 years, we won't
Right.
even consider asking for an override for
Right.
Tri-County.
So just a quick question and I think I know the answer to it already, but I'm going to ask it anyway. For the capital items, so the capital request is a total of 1,971,568.
Yep.
On here, we've got 684,935.
Majority of that is going to be funded from the water sewer
Enterprise
enterprise for the water
It
meter.
will it will all be split. So the meter replacement at 1.286.
Yeah.
That full bill will be funded through
Water.
retained earnings for both water and sewer enterprise.
So does this mean that we're going to be able to fund
The rest
all
of
of the
everything,
capital
yes.
requests
Yes.
that
Yes.
That's
came
part
up?
of the recommendation.
Okay,
All the
great.
capital
Yes.
requests will
Okay.
be funded.
Yep.
Good, okay, good.
Yeah, and they all make a ton of sense. I mean, we
Oh,
looked
yeah,
them over,
yeah.
there was nothing that rose to the level of the things we hadn't, fell to the level of things we hadn't funded in the past.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And the only other thing that, again, I know the strategy of the board and, pushing this down the road a bit. In essence, it's not best practice to fund the operating budget with free cash, right? So this is, the Tri-County debt is an operating budget issue. But it's very distinct and very specific, so we're not essentially using it to fund salaries or wages or that sort of thing. So I'm comfortable with this approach, but also want to be very clear that this will be problematic when we can't use free
Yeah.
cash to fund it.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
it should be a discussion point sooner than later,
Right.
that in 2 to 3 years, like you said, Craig. This is something that's gonna need to go before the voters.
And this puts us out about 5 years from when they started assessing, not that we're at 5 years yet, we're 2 years into it already with the big assessments, and this gives us 3 more.
Yes.
So, yeah, and that's the best we can do.
Yep,
And-
exactly.
And there's 2 solutions. We ask for an override vote on it in some point in the future,
Mm-hmm.
or we start making cuts to things that we fund that are going to be
Right.
painful.
Right.
And that's where it's going to get tough.
Correct.
But being able to extend it as long as possible is what we needed to do.
Jody, is this the last penny of weed money?
Yes. It's the last
Anything?
89
Anybody?
cents or something.
Drum roll, anything?
Oh, thank
Come
you.
on.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Ellen.
This went like,
That went for a very long
It
time.
was good.
Yeah.
It was real good.
Goes to show
Yeah.
that every bit was used.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Every bit was used.
And it was used
And
for
you
good.
Just get-
And
yeah, it was used for
appropriately,
real
not like the
stuff
town
that
Well.
Screwed it up for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
we used
Yeah.
it for real
Excellent job.
good. So yes.
So just
Yeah.
kind of flipping through the rest of these, again, unemployment sort of takes the rest of what's in here. That wasn't a strategic number, it was sort of the leftover number, but that's okay, because we like to continue to make sure that there's a number of funds in unemployment. Those can be very unpredictable. We are recommending $100,000 in the 111F fund. Again, that balance we like to keep around $400,000. It just depends upon, how many folks we have out at any given time. Again, unpredictable. We always want to make a funding attempt for our unfunded liability for OPEB. Right now, we're sitting at about $51.5 million as an unfunded liability. So these are sort of, good faith contributions.
Drop in the bucket.
Stabilization, same, we're funded right now. It's recommended best practice to be at about 5 to 7% of your overall operating budget. We're at about 6.4%. So I'd like to continue to keep that going for as long as we can. And that's even with the new budget number. We're at 6.4, not based on last year's.
Right.
So current balance, projected new budget number. The FEMA flood map revision project, as I understand, and the town administrator shared with me, that's just the feasibility that's required to do that.
Do you have any idea where we are with that?
The original work has been completed. So until,
months ago.
right, until we get an appropriation for the full
Can't go any
project, we
further.
can't go any further. So right after town meeting,
Need
they can proceed with the work, because I can't sign a contract,
Without
and the
Okay.
board
money.
can't sign a contract,
I
we don't have the
thought,
funding.
Bob told me that they were working on, so they're waiting for money?
They finished the first phase. They can't go any further until, and they've said that, based on their preliminary reviews, that we have a very high probability of succeeding in our, but we have to move to the next step, which the 120,000 would cover the next full
Right.
step, and that's basically the biggest cost to the town.
Okay.
Okay.
And finally,
Yes.
the
that.
last article, which we may still ask you to consider, but it would be reserved for compensated balances. So there are oftentimes, we have retirees and there's buyback provisions or sick leave payouts or vacation accrued balances that we need to pay out, and they can be as much as, as little as $10,000, as much as $30,000, $50,000. So this will just sort of hedge us each budget cycle to be able to have a reserve in an article. If we can't cover it with year-end transfers, we don't want to be, stuck in a
Sometimes
given
this is
cycle.
unpredictable, so you
Right.
don't always know
Right.
exactly when this bill is coming due. And I've several other towns I've worked in have this type of an account.
Yeah.
We just haven't had it, and so if the board is okay with this, you can't vote to formally put it in the warrant tonight, but if you would like it in the warrant, you could do it for the next meeting. So if it's something that you're feeling positive about, we can include that for your next
I think it
meeting.
makes sense, especially in a year when we have the free cash, because there's gonna be years when we don't, and this gives us the ability to, much like Tri-County pre-fund, or the 111F, it gives us chance to pre-fund stuff that we know is gonna occur.
Yeah, it'll reduce the late minute
Yeah.
year-end transfers to
Right.
cover these types of things.
In snow and ice, are we going to be able to do that with transfers in this year, or
So
do
we
we?
probably won't do it with year-end transfers,
We'll do it
but
in
we'll raise it
November.
on the recap.
Yeah.
When we do the tax rate recap.
Okay.
What that essentially does is just will offset whatever free cash.
Yeah.
So it'll just get taken off the top of that balance.
Thank you.
And it's just over,
It's fine, it works.
I think we're around 220,000, Craig,
Okay.
if I'm not
That's
mistaken.
That's not crazy.
No,
I mean, for what
No.
we went through.
yeah.
I'm that far off on my work, so.
Yep.
Thank you, Jody.
You're welcome. So if-
Anybody have any
I was gonna
questions?
say, if anyone has
Yeah.
questions.
No?
So we'll get into more details soon enough, but again, if anything pops up, let me
And
know.
so
right.
we'll forward these to the Finance Committee tomorrow
Okay.
for the meeting Wednesday, and they'll be available too for the tri-board meeting
Yeah, I
on
was gonna say,
Thursday evening.
Reminder, tri-board
When we have, I
Thursday.
think there's a budget item on the agenda, so we can
Starts
go
at
through this
6.
again.
Huh? Doesn't start at 6, 7 o'clock, 7 to 9.
So we'll go through that as well, and we'll update the warrant will be fully updated based on your discussion tonight for your meeting next Monday for you to formally approve and sign the warrant.
All right. I make a motion, are we ready, Aaron?
Yes.
I make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
Didn't want to jump the gun.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Millis Community Media. Have a great night.
I've ever been to.